Dragon Ball. Broly is a tiny bit stronger. Chapter 41. Ah, about that, hee hee. Master Roshi showed a wry smile, lowering his voice even further. It seems Broly is a bit picky about food. He explicitly said he wasn't interested in the blonde one. He prefers the blue-haired launch right now because she can cook, and her food really suits his taste. As for the blonde one, besides knowing how to use a gun, she really can't cook. Her food is either burnt or undercooked. Bulma rubbed her forehead, speechless once again. This is clearly double the happiness, the blessing of having two wives, alright. That Broly guy actually looked down on the passionate and fiery blonde launch. And the reason was actually because blonde launch couldn't cook. Those standards for a partner are way too pragmatic. Blonde launch got a bit angry after offering herself a few times and being rejected by that blockhead Broly. Master Roshi continued gossiping, letting out a long sigh. Now, every time she sneezes and turns blonde, she holds a grudge against Broly. She either ignores him or deliberately picks a fight. They haven't spoken for almost 3 years. A Cold War lasting 3 years. Bulma was speechless, feeling her worldview constantly being refreshed, marveling, they really are something. This relationship is too complicated. Does sneezing start the Cold War, and then sneezing again instantly make them reconcile? That's pretty much the gist of it, the switch depends entirely on the sneeze. Master Roshi nodded in agreement. Bulma decided to give up trying to understand this complicated relationship dynamic. After a moment of silence, Bulma changed the subject that was giving her a headache. Speaking of which, has Broly really not trained at all these past 3 years? Just relying on his innate divine strength? Bulma asked. Yes, exactly the same as before, unshakable. Master Roshi nodded, his tone carrying a mix of helplessness and the calmness of long habit. His biggest workout every day is moving from the bed to the dining table, then from the dining table to the picnic mat on the beach, and now he's added playing video games. Training is boring, tiring, and dull. Hearing himself being discussed, Broly raised his head, flashed his characteristic, slightly goofy smile, and reiterated his core values. Speaking of which, where did that kid Yamcha go? Aren't you two together? Master Roshi pushed up the sunglasses that had slipped down his nose, looked around, and seeing no familiar figure, asked Bulma. Yamcha. Mentioning Yamcha, Bulma showed a hint of annoyance, saying exasperatedly, after he returned to West City, he left a letter not long after and took off by himself. Yes, Yamcha ran off to train alone, Oolong added from the side. He abandoned me too. Puar nodded along, her tone slightly aggrieved. HMPH. That guy must have been motivated by Broly and Goku 3 years ago. He probably vowed to secretly work hard and then shock everyone. Bulma ground her teeth in anger, clearly still holding a grudge over Yamcha's abandonment. Haha, so Yamcha is doing that too. Hearing this, Master Roshi laughed, as if seeing a common ailment among the youth. Krillin is the same. 3 years ago, he told me he was going to train, and then he just vanished. They must have been severely motivated by the strength Broly displayed and Goku going to Kami's place to train. They're all holding back a burst of energy. Broly, look, everyone has been working hard training these past 3 years. Bulma turned to look at Broly, who looked completely unconcerned, her expression becoming slightly more serious as she addressed him. Even though you're strong now, if you keep refusing to train, Goku and the others will surpass you eventually. Don't regret it when that happens. Broly simply responded softly, nodding, his face still bearing an expression of calm indifference and unconcern. Whether he was surpassed or not seemed far less important to Broly than thinking about what to eat next. Or how to beat the next level in this game. You really are something, your mentality is too good, isn't it? You don't care about any of this. Bulma couldn't help but sigh, looking at Broly's impenetrable attitude. This pure lack of ambition is, in a way, a level of attainment. Good mentality leads to a long life, Master Roshi commented with a nod from the side, unclear whether it was praise or criticism. Hello. Just as they were speaking, an unfamiliar young man's voice, slightly magnetic, sounded nearby. Broly and the others were startled, looking toward the source of the sound. They saw a tall, well-built young man standing nearby, having appeared without their notice. He held a black umbrella, his face handsome, a gentle smile playing on his lips. Most notably, he had carefully wrapped his hair with a white headscarf, making his hairstyle invisible. Grandpa, Brawley, is everyone doing well? The young man showed a familiar, slightly earnest smile, his gaze sweeping over the group, his tone warm. Where are Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien Shinhan? Have they entered the preliminary venue? Also, Brawley, are you really not participating in the tournament? The young man asked a series of questions, showing he was well informed about the situation. As soon as he spoke, Brawley and the others were suddenly enlightened, realizing something instantly. They were all stunned, their gazes focusing uniformly on the face of this young man who was both strange and vaguely familiar. Goku. Master Roshi was the first to react. He adjusted his sunglasses, moved closer, and scrutinized the robust young man, who was significantly taller than himself. He paused in confusion, having nearly failed to recognize him. Bulma, even more surprised, covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes wide and round, as if witnessing an incredible miracle. Could it be? Launch looked thoughtfully at the young man's familiar eyes and smile, seeming to have guessed something as well. Huh? What are you guys talking about? Of course it's me. Son Goku looked strangely at Brawley and the others, who seemed petrified, not understanding their reaction. Then, Son Goku looked up at the sky, revealing a hearty smile. Ah, that's great, the rain seems to be easing up. Saying this, Son Goku casually folded the umbrella in his hand, allowing the fine drizzle to fall upon his body and the conspicuous white headscarf. No way. Are you really Goku? Little Oolong rubbed his eyes, exclaiming in disbelief. What's wrong? You can't recognize me just because I wrapped up my hair. Son Goku chuckled, reaching out to grab a corner of the headscarf and casually pulling it off. Instantly, his signature black spiky hedgehog hairstyle, which stood up like flames, was revealed completely before Brawley and the others. Combined with his now mature, well-defined, sun-kissed face and robust physique, a powerful, vibrant aura rushed toward them. On the contrary, I think it's Bulma and Grandpa who have gotten shorter. Son Goku stepped forward, measuring Bulma and Master Roshi's heights with a curious and serious expression. That's because you've grown so much in the past 3 years. Bulma's mouth twitched slightly as she retorted, annoyed. Is that so? Maybe I have grown a little. Hearing this, Son Goku rubbed his hard hair, revealing a slightly shy but confident smile. Brawley looked at the greatly changed Son Goku and simply nodded, acknowledging him. In Brawley's eyes, it was natural for Goku to grow taller and stronger, just as it was natural for him to get a little stronger every day. This kid, he really is surprising. Master Roshi looked at the tall and straight Son Goku, who had completely shed the childishness of 3 years ago, and sighed continuously. Unknowingly, that little Goku from back then had also grown into an adult. Time really flies. Master Roshi couldn't help but glance at Brawley, who hadn't changed much, beside him. It seemed Brawley had also suddenly shot up from a little sprout to a big young man back then. Hello everyone, we meet again in our old spot. Just then, several other familiar voices came from a distance, breaking the surprised atmosphere. Krillin, Tien Shinhan, Yamcha, and Xiaosu walked over from afar, chatting and laughing. It was the loud-voiced Krillin who had just spoken. Long time no see, Master Roshi. Tien Shinhan also smiled, nodding in greeting to Master Roshi. However, Brawley, Bulma, and the others were still immersed in the shock of Son Goku's transformation, their eyes somewhat glazed over as they looked at the four of them, unable to respond immediately. What? No reaction. Yamcha paused, startled by their stunned expressions. Haha, it must be that our changes are too great, surprising them. Krillin laughed confidently at this, ran a few steps to Master Roshi, puffed out his chest, trying to look taller, and said proudly, Master Roshi, take a good look at me. I've been diligently training for the past 3 years and have grown so tall. Ha ha ha. Master Roshi. Master Roshi looked at Krillin's still unremarkable height and his shiny bald head, his mouth twitching slightly. Unable to bear dampening his enthusiasm, he could only silently shift his gaze. You call that tall? Confidence is good, but, sigh. Krillin, you look very energetic. Son Goku stepped forward, smiling as he patted Krillin's shoulder, his tone friendly. Huh. Krillin was stunned to hear the familiar voice and address. He looked up at the tall, handsome young man with Goku's unique smile, and an expression of extreme bewilderment appeared on his face. You're Goku. Yes, what's wrong? Son Goku nodded, his expression matter of fact. You scoundrel. I missed you so much. After a brief moment of daze, Krillin finally confirmed that the person in front of him was his best friend. Immense joy instantly overwhelmed him. He excitedly shouted, leapt up, and hugged Son Goku tightly, slapping his back hard. You're really something. 3 years ago you said you were going to train with Kami, and then you just disappeared without a trace. I thought you'd forgotten all about us. Huh. He's Goku. Yamcha's eyes widened at this, and he leaned closer, carefully examining Son Goku's face, still somewhat disbelieving. His eyes and brows do resemble him a bit. Tien Shinhan said calmly, arms crossed, surprise evident in all three of his eyes. He's changed so much. I don't recognize him at all. Xiaosu floated in the air, echoing softly. But Broly doesn't seem to have changed at all, still the same as always. Yamcha then turned his gaze to Broly, couldn't help but sigh in comparison. Aside from being more muscular and having a more composed and introverted demeanor, Broly's lazy appearance, showing no enthusiasm for anything, was almost identical to 3 years ago. The group gathered, scrutinizing each other's changes, recounting their experiences and longing of the past 3 years. The atmosphere instantly became lively and joyful. The light rain also seemed to turn gentle, mirroring their reunion's happiness. Contestants participating in the World Martial Arts Tournament, the preliminary rounds are about to begin. Please gather at the arena immediately. Just then, the clear and loud voice of the announcer boomed through the loudspeaker outside the venue, reaching everyone's ears. It's starting. Krillin rubbed his hands together, his face filled with anticipation and excitement, eager to test the results of his 3 years of training. Grandpa, have you prepared our Kame school uniforms for the competition? Son Goku seemed to recall something and turned to Master Roshi, asking. Don't be silly, you've all grown up and have your own outfits and styles. How can you always wear my Kame school uniform? Master Roshi waved his hand with a smile, his face showing relief and encouragement. Go for it, boys. Let me see how much you've improved in these 3 years. Yes. Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien Shinhan responded in unison, their voices full of fighting spirit and confidence. Broly, are you really sure you're not participating in the competition? Krillin looked at Broly again, still somewhat unwilling to give up, reconfirming. In truth, deep down, Krillin still hoped to face this unfathomable guy in the arena. No. Broly shook his head, his tone unwavering. Seriously, one of our goals for training so hard these past 3 years was to defeat you. Yamcha let out a helpless sigh, feeling a bit regretful. If you don't participate, the competition feels like it's missing something, how boring. That's simple. Master Roshi's eyes rolled as he thought of a brilliant idea. Stroking his beard, he proposed with a smile, how about this? The ultimate champion of this World Martial Arts Tournament will have the right to challenge Broly. What do you think? Isn't that a good prize? I don't want to fight. Broly immediately glared at Master Roshi, expressing his displeasure. No. This time, listen to me. This is an order. Master Roshi, for once, put on an elder's authoritative demeanor, deliberately stern-faced, and huffed, as a member of the Kame school, how can you always avoid battle? It's settled. Broly pouted, but in the end, he didn't argue further, tacitly agreeing. After all, the old man provided him with food and shelter, so he had to give him this much face. Ha ha ha. Then it's happily decided. Krillin immediately laughed loudly, clapping his hands vigorously, very satisfied with the proposal. To earn the right to challenge Broly, I'll definitely win the championship. As Master Roshi, not planning to fight personally this time, Tien Shinhan seemed to recall something, lowering his voice and asking Master Roshi in a respectful whisper. No, I won't be fighting. I really can't compare to you young people anymore. Master Roshi waved his hand, a relieved yet slightly melancholic smile on his face, readily admitting the gap between himself and his juniors. Time spares no one. Master Roshi looked at the vibrant young people before him, filled with emotion, but more so with gratification. Besides, I have Broly now. He will represent me and carry on the Kame school. Why should I still fight? It's truly unbelievable. Bulma's gaze never left Son Goku. Cupping her cheeks, her eyes sparkled with an unusual light, her heart fluttering as she continuously exclaimed, "It's only been 3 years, and Goku has already transformed from that silly little kid into such a tall and handsome boy. This change is too astonishing. Hey, you're not falling for him, are you?" Oolong keenly caught Bulma's gaze and couldn't help but roll his eyes. Changing affections so quickly. Yamcha isn't going green, is he? Several hours quickly passed in waiting and chatting. The clamor of the preliminary rounds in the martial arts temple temporarily subsided. Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, and the others specifically came out of the contestant waiting area to find Master Roshi and his group in the audience section to report the results of the preliminaries. Aside from Xiaosu's unfortunate defeat, Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien Shinhan all successfully defeated their respective opponents, smoothly passed the preliminaries, and qualified for the main tournament. "I'm still worried about the guy who defeated Xiaosu." Yamcha's face showed a trace of concern, his brows tightly furrowed. "He was extremely ruthless. He's Master Shen's younger brother, Dao Pai Pai," Krillin added, his tone equally solemn. Dao Pai Pai. Master Roshi was startled upon hearing this, a look of surprise on his face. He adjusted his sunglasses and asked in confusion, "Wasn't he killed by Goku many years ago?" "He's alive," Krillin explained. "He used some method to transform himself into a cyborg. Part of his body is mechanical." Dao Pai Pai's return this time is clearly for revenge. He wants to kill Goku and Tien Shinhan. Yamcha clenched his fists tightly, his tone extremely grave. And according to the schedule, the first quarterfinal match is Tien Shinhan directly facing him. Dao Pai Pai. Master Roshi's expression instantly turned serious as well, his white beard trembling slightly. This isn't good at all. He's not only the world's greatest assassin, but he also watched Tien Shinhan grow up. He's the one who knows Tien Shinhan's fighting style and weaknesses best. It's nothing special. Son Goku, however, smiled, his face displaying his usual ease and confidence. Broly stood a little further away, focused on gnawing on a glistening chicken leg, his cheeks puffed out, completely unconcerned about the discussion of the formidable enemy. That guy is no match for the current Tien Shinhan. Son Goku, seeing everyone's worried expressions, added with certainty, full of confidence in his comrade's strength. Yamcha was stunned, somewhat surprised by Son Goku's definitive judgment. "You all underestimate Dao Pai Pai too much." A sinister voice, clearly mocking, came from nearby. It was Master Shen, who had walked over at some point, his steps measured. He wore traditional Crane School martial arts attire, his face displaying undisguised smugness and contempt. "It's Master Shen." Krillin's pupils slightly contracted, his body instinctively tensing. "Look at you all, standing there like dumbfounded wooden chickens. How amusing." Master Shen sneered, his gaze sweeping over Master Roshi and his disciples like a knife. He spoke in a condescending tone, "Out of respect for fellow martial artists, I'll give you a piece of advice, you idiots of the Kame school. Before you're all wiped out, hurry up and run away with your tails between your legs. Lest you make fools of yourselves in the arena, or even lose your lives." At this point, Master Shen's narrow eyes shifted, and he immediately spotted Broly standing on the periphery, engrossed in battling a chicken leg. Broly was eating with such dedication, his mouth and hands covered in grease, completely without image, fully immersed in his world of food. Broly happened to look up, felt the ill-intended gaze, and unceremoniously returned a big glare, letting out an unhappy, HMPH, sound, as if complaining that the other party had disturbed his dining pleasure. HMPH. So this kid is Broly, right? Master Shen seemed to have found a new target for mockery, his lips curling into an extremely provocative arc as he said in a sharp voice, "I heard you, old turtle, picked up this abandoned infant from some garbage dump. He looks like a simpleton, a mentally disabled fool who only knows how to stuff things into his mouth. The Kame school truly only produces such trash." The scene instantly fell into an eerie silence. Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Master Roshi, Bulma, everyone froze, looking at the ranting Master Shen with a mix of shock and pity. You really aren't picky when it comes to provocation. You provoke anyone you can. Of all people to provoke, you chose Broly, this monster. You must not know how to spell death. This guy is probably in for a world of trouble. Brawley's chewing motion suddenly stopped, the hand holding the chicken leg suspended in midair. The face that usually held a lazy and contented expression instantly stiffened, his brow slightly furrowed. The next moment, Brawley immediately turned his head to look at Master Roshi. Master Roshi's mouth twitched violently, feeling a bit of a headache. Old man. Brawley's voice was calm, but anyone familiar with him could hear the displeasure beneath that calmness. You wouldn't object if I beat him to death, would you? Brawley said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world, like asking, can I have another chicken leg? How about, we just, let him live? Master Roshi quickly replied. Oh. Brawley nodded in agreement. Then I'll beat the shit out of him and make him eat it himself, since his mouth is so foul and pollutes the environment. Master Roshi. Master Roshi felt his old face twitching. You might as well just kill him directly. That sounds even more disgusting and cruel. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Master Shen seemed to have heard the most absurd and funniest joke in the world. He clutched his stomach, roaring with laughter, bending over backward, tears almost streaming from his eyes. You, a fool who only knows how to eat, say you want to beat me to death. And make me. Ha ha ha. You're killing me with laughter. You idiot, even if I stood here motionless and let you hit me, your soft fists wouldn't be able to scratch me in the slightest. Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Bulma, and the others present watched Master Shen laughing wildly, completely oblivious to his impending doom. They all froze again, and their hearts simultaneously began mourning Master Shen for a few seconds. You're still laughing. How can you even manage to laugh? You're definitely going to be miserable in a moment. No matter how strong you are, can you be stronger than King Piccolo was back then? Even King Piccolo was swatted dead by Brawley like a fly. Brawley stopped wasting words. He skillfully pulled the bare chicken leg bone he had finished eating out of his mouth. It was still covered in his saliva and some shreds of meat. Then, under everyone's solemn gaze, Brawley flicked the chicken bone towards the still cackling Master Shen, as casually as flicking away a speck of dust. Whoosh! The moment that unremarkable chicken bone left Brawley's fingers, it seemed to be imbued with life and terrifying power. It transformed into a white blur almost impossible for the naked eye to track, tearing through the air with a sharp whistling sound, shooting straight toward Master Shen's chest at a speed exceeding that of a bullet. Master Shen, who had been laughing moments before, felt his pupils instantly contract to the size of pinpricks. The martial artist's instinct made Master Shen immediately sense a fatal threat. That seemingly harmless chicken bone transformed in his eyes into a roaring meteor, carrying an endless, terrifying momentum that made his very soul tremble. The smile on Master Shen's face instantly froze, replaced by extreme horror. He almost subconsciously tried to use his movement technique to dodge. However, the chicken bone was simply too fast. It was so fast that it exceeded the limits of his nervous system reaction and physical movement. Bang! A dull thud, like a heavy hammer striking rotten wood. The chicken bone struck Master Shen's chest dead center with perfect accuracy, right where he had channeled his hard qigong. Crack! Immediately following, a clearly audible, teeth-grinding sound of bone shattering exploded like a clap of thunder in the quiet air. Everyone present involuntarily shivered, as if the pain of the shattering bone had been transmitted to them as well. That probably broke several ribs outright, didn't it? The next moment, before Master Shen could recover from the searing pain and shock of his shattered sternum, Brawley's figure vanished instantly from his spot at a speed the others couldn't track. When he reappeared, he was already right in front of Master Shen. Brawley extended his large hand, which had just wiped away grease, grabbed Master Shen's top-knotted head, and then, as casually as pressing out a cigarette butt on the ground, he lightly and arbitrarily slammed it downward. Boom! A deafening sound. Master Shen's head in the hard bluestone slab ground had a solid, unbuffered, intimate encounter. The immense impact even caused the ground to tremble slightly, leaving a shallow pit with clear edges and radiating cracks. This time, Brawley carefully controlled his strength, remembering Master Roshi's instructions, afraid that he might accidentally use too much force and smash Master Shen's head open like a watermelon. The old man said to spare his life, so he would spare him. But this guy's mouth is too foul, he lacks verbal virtue, so he definitely needed a good beating to teach him a lesson. Master Shen felt his head go, buzz, instantly, as if struck hard by a 10,000-pound hammer. Stars burst before his eyes, everything went black, and his skull felt like it was splitting open. The pain made him gasp repeatedly, his teeth grinding audibly. At the same time, Master Shen felt his mental state completely collapse. What is going on? What in the world is happening? How could that wild kid the old turtle picked up from who knows where possess such terrifying strength and speed? I actually didn't even have a chance to react or fight back against him. This is impossible. However, what followed was even more despairing and humiliating for Master Shen. After pinning Master Shen to the ground, Brawly didn't stop. Brawly raised his other fist and, with a seemingly casual but actually skillfully controlled strike, delivered another heavy, dull punch to Master Shen's belly, which was curled up in agony. Master Shen's limbs involuntarily shot upward, like a cooked shrimp. A painful retching sound escaped his throat, and a mouthful of sour liquid mixed with stomach acid and undigested food uncontrollably sprayed out. Brawly's eyes were indifferent. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed Master Shen's limp wrist, dragged his flaccid body, and began violently slamming him repeatedly onto the ground, back and forth, left and right, without any pattern, just like swinging a sandbag. Bang! 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 Boom! Thwack! The dull thuds of flesh hitting the ground, intertwined with Master Shen's sharp, high-pitched screams like a pig being slaughtered, formed an extremely discordant symphony that echoed across the open ground in front of the martial arts temple, causing spectators who hadn't yet entered to turn their heads and nervously retreat from this troubled spot. Son Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, Master Roshi, Bulma, Oolong, Puar, and the others were all dumbfounded, completely frozen in shock. Although they knew Brawly was strong, witnessing such a plain, yet utterly brutal, beating firsthand was still too visually shocking. At the same time, Yamcha and Krillin secretly swore to themselves in unison. No matter what, they must never offend Brawly in the future. This guy really hits hard. And he has absolutely no restraint when he strikes. But another question immediately surfaced in their minds. This guy clearly doesn't train normally, all he does is eat, sleep, and play video games. Why is he still so strong after 3 years? Doesn't his strength decrease at all? Can sleeping, eating, and playing games also increase one's power? We worked hard, shed blood and sweat, and seriously trained for 3 years. Are we really worse off than him just relaxing every day? Brawly used Master Shen as a human sandbag, slamming him around vigorously for a full 3 minutes, finally stopping only when he felt the dissatisfaction in his heart had been sufficiently vented. By this point, Master Shen was barely breathing, his clothes were tattered, and his face was bruised and swollen. More importantly, Master Shen had been beaten so badly that he lost control of his bladder and bowels, and a foul stench began to spread. Then, under the horrified gaze of the crowd, Brawly kept his promise. With a look of disgust, but still following through on what he had just said, he pressed Master Shen's filth-covered head into the puddle of waste that Master Shen himself had created. Seeing this scene, everyone, including Son Goku, shuddered violently, their stomachs churning. They all simultaneously retreated more than 10 steps, desperately covering their noses and mouths, their faces filled with horror and revulsion. This kid Brawly, he really keeps his word. This method of punishment, it's just too unique. Master Shen was now completely unable to move, lying on the ground like a pile of mud, his eyes vacant and lifeless as he stared blankly at the sky, having lost all sparkle. When he opened his mouth, filth oozed from the corners. Forget talking, even his breathing carried an indescribable odor. What a blast, stretching my muscles made me feel even hungrier. Brawly clapped his hands, his face showing satisfaction and excitement, as if he had just finished a beneficial morning exercise routine. You worked hard, hurry and wipe your hands. Launch thoughtfully stepped forward, taking 2 fragrant alcohol wipes from her small bag and gently handing them to Brawly. Quick, disinfect them, don't get anything unclean on you. Brawly nodded, naturally took the wipes, and carefully cleaned his hands, especially between his fingers, before tossing the wipes into a distant trash can. The scene fell into a deathly silence, broken only by the faint broadcast from the martial arts tournament in the distance and Master Shen's weak groans. After a period of suffocating silence, Old Shen, sigh. Master Roshi looked at the miserable sight of Master Shen on the ground, letting out a complex sigh, his tone carrying pity and helplessness. You really shouldn't have provoked Brawley. Master Shen hadn't passed out. The intense humiliation and severe physical pain kept him conscious. He stared blankly up at the azure sky, feeling like every bone in his body was shattered, unable to move even an inch. As for what Master Roshi said, Master Shen heard it, but he was utterly disheartened at the moment and didn't want to offer any comment. He didn't even have the strength left to feel angry. You probably don't know this yet, do you? Master Roshi said with a sigh, looking at Master Shen's despairing state. Just 3 years ago, the legendary King Piccolo was released from his seal. In the end, it was Brawley who stepped in and effortlessly destroyed him. Just like what you just experienced, maybe even easier. Wah, what did you say? Master Shen, who had been lying there like a dead fish, suddenly twitched when he heard that sentence. His pupils constricted violently, filled with extreme shock and disbelief. King Piccolo. That legendary demon king. He was destroyed by this kid, who only knows how to eat drumsticks. This news shook Master Shen's soul more than the vicious beating he had just received. Go back and recover properly. Master Roshi shook his head, no longer looking at Master Shen's terrible state, and spoke his final words earnestly. In the future, restrain yourself, and stop doing evil deeds. This world is much bigger than you imagine. Brawley, 3 years have passed, and you're still so strong. Son Goku stepped forward, giving Brawley a genuine smile, his eyes filled with recognition for a powerful opponent and eager fighting spirit. I don't know what's going on either. Brawley grinned at Son Goku, showing his white teeth, and told the truth. In short, every time I wake up, I feel my strength naturally increases by a little bit. The more I sleep, the more it seems to increase. The smile on Son Goku's face froze. Question marks seemed to appear above Krillin's bald head. Yamcha's mouth twitched violently. The three of them were speechless, their hearts suffering tons of damage. Their strength increases a little bit every time they wake up. Can they gain strength while sleeping? Are you cheating? Are you going to let us hard-working cultivators live? In the distance, under the shadow of a towering pagoda at the martial arts temple, a green figure watched the scene of Brawley beating Master Shen from start to finish, seeing everything clearly. It was the reborn Piccolo. Piccolo narrowed his crimson eyes, which held a cold, deep hatred like a venomous snake, along with a hint of undetectable seriousness. This guy who killed my father. Sure enough, just as the rumors said, he possesses strange and powerful strength. I must settle this deep, bloody grudge with you. I will use your blood to mourn the soul of my deceased father. But before that, I'll take care of those annoying little small fry. I will legitimately win the championship at this World Martial Arts Tournament. I will let the whole world see my power. And then, right in front of everyone, I will personally crush that fool Brawley bit by bit, making him die a tormented death. With the strength I've gained from 3 years of training in a hellish environment, I can definitely win the championship easily. Son Goku, Tien Shinhan, and the others are merely slightly tougher stepping stones on my path to revenge. How could they possibly be my opponents? Attention, all competitors. The official World Martial Arts Tournament matches are about to begin. All competitors please gather immediately at the main arena. At that moment, the clear and booming voice of the referee came over the broadcast again, echoing above the martial arts temple. All right, good luck to all of you. Master Roshi composed himself and called out to Son Goku, Krillin, and Yamcha, giving them an encouraging smile. But remember, safety first. Don't overexert yourselves. Retreat when you need to. Where there is life, there is hope. The three men's expressions turned serious, and they nodded vigorously, their eyes filled with fighting spirit. Go everyone. Bulma cupped her hands around her mouth like a megaphone and yelled loudly, then specifically looked at Yamcha. Yamcha. Try hard to win the championship. Ah, finally, I can properly watch the matches this time. Master Roshi watched his disciples walk towards the arena, taking a deep breath and enjoying the rare feeling of relaxation. In the previous 2 tournaments, Master Roshi had personally disguised himself and competed, which was quite exhausting. Brawley, upon hearing this, paused, looking at Master Roshi with a slight confusion. Brawley was unaware, and had never cared, that Master Roshi had disguised himself as the competitor Jackie Chun in the previous 2 World Martial Arts tournaments. Brawley's attention was always focused solely on food and sleep. Wow. There are so many people. 3 layers deep inside and 3 outside. With this many people, I can't see the ring at all. Oolong stood on his tiptoes, craning his neck to look forward, but only saw a dense sea of heads, making his head spin. This is troublesome. All the spots are taken. Master Roshi frowned, looking at the packed spectator stands, and mused. What should we do? It's a shame if we can't see the match. Launch also looked around, her pretty face etched with disappointment. Then let's not watch. Brawley's solution was always simple and direct. He pointed to a snack stall not far away and suggested, let's go eat something over there. I smell grilled sausages. Master Roshi and the others were speechless upon hearing this, black lines seemingly dropping down their foreheads. You are truly easygoing. Don't say that, Brawley. Bulma, however, giggled, her eyes darting around as if she had a good idea. She quietly took out a colorful feather cat toy from her small bag, then tiptoed to Launch's nose, who was looking up, and gently wiggled it. At the same time, she said in an apologetic tone, I'm sorry, Miss Launch. Ah, chew. The tickling sensation of the feather brushing her nose caught Launch off guard, and she immediately let out a loud sneeze. Pop. In an instant, Launch's appearance underwent a drastic change. Her soft, blue long hair, as if dyed with golden dye, instantly turned into dazzling gold. Her eyes also changed from gentle and watery to sharp and fierce, and her entire demeanor transformed from a gentle girl to a delinquent tomboy. After Launch turned blonde, she subconsciously turned her head, glared angrily at Brawley who was standing next to her, and couldn't help but let out a heavy snort from her nose, expressing her dissatisfaction. Brawley merely glanced at her, then continued to search for the grilled sausage, completely ignoring her. In Brawley's simple understanding, blonde Launch, who couldn't cook and had a bad temper, was far less cute than blue-haired Launch, who could make delicious food. Miss Launch, we're going to watch the match, and there are too many people ahead, Bulma said to blonde Launch, clasping her hands together in a cute gesture, and pleaded, I'm counting on you. Leave it to me. Blonde Launch's sharp eyes immediately sparkled with excitement and eagerness when she heard Bulma's request. She patted her chest, full of vigor. With that, Launch casually pulled out a red universal capsule from her tight pants pocket and pressed the button with a flourish. Bang! A soft sound accompanied by a puff of white smoke, and the universal capsule instantly transformed into 2 shiny, black submachine guns with a metallic texture, accurately landing in Launch's outstretched hands. Launch skillfully pulled the bolt, making a crisp clack as it loaded. Everyone move aside. Get out if you don't want to die. This place has been commandeered by yours truly. Blonde Launch said with a fierce and wild smile on her face, raising both submachine guns and wildly spraying bullets into the blue sky with a da 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 da. The piercing gunshots instantly shattered the commotion in front of the martial arts temple, and hot shell casings clattered to the ground. The spectators, who had never seen such a display, were packed like sardines. They were instantly terrified, screaming in horror, scattering like a disturbed ant colony, scrambling and stumbling away. The previously crowded area was instantly cleared, leaving several excellent viewing spots. Brawley and the others then leisurely walked forward and firmly occupied this VIP viewing area. And in Brawley's hands were 2 more grilled sausages. Master Roshi wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. You bought grilled sausages too quickly, didn't you? To all the audience members present, thank you for your patience. On the stage, the referee held the microphone and loudly announced in a clear and passionate voice, the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, official matches, now begin. The audience erupted in enthusiastic applause and cheers. The first match will be between Mr. Dao Pai Pai, known as the world's greatest assassin, and last year's champion, Mr. Tian Xinhan. The referee announced again, igniting the audience's anticipation, please welcome both contestants to the stage. After the announcement, Tian Xinhan and the cyborg Dao Pai Pai steadily stepped onto the smooth ring from the stairs on either side. Tian Xinhan's expression was stern, his 3 eyes fixed on his opponent, while Dao Pai Pai wore a mechanically cold killing intent, a cruel smirk on his lips. The outcome of this match was almost without suspense. Although Dao Pai Pai used his signature Dodin Ray and various insidious and vicious killing techniques, each move lethal, they appeared futile and clumsy in front of Tian Xinhan, whose strength was no longer what it once was. Tian Xinhan, with absolute strength and more refined martial arts, easily diffused all attacks, finally seizing an opening and knocking Dao Pai Pai unconscious with a heavy punch, cleanly securing the victory. After the referee announced the result, Tian Xinhan walked forward expressionlessly, carrying the unconscious Dao Pai Pai over his broad shoulder as if he were a sack of cement. Tian Xinhan looked around the audience, searching for Master Shen, preparing to return his martial uncle to him. However, after searching for a while, Tian Xinhan couldn't find Master Shen's whereabouts and couldn't help but frown. Master Roshi. Tian Xinhan had no choice but to go to Master Roshi, asking in confusion, "Where is Master Shen? Didn't he confidently say he would watch the match here and see me get taught a lesson by Dao Pai Pai?" Over there. Master Roshi's face showed an extremely complex, hesitant expression. He extended a finger and cautiously pointed in the direction of a nearby spot that still had a faint peculiar smell and a small pit on the ground. What happened? Tian Xinhan felt an ominous premonition rise in his heart when he saw Master Roshi's strange expression and quickly pressed for answers. "It's nothing major." Master Roshi let out a helpless sigh and shook his head, as if he couldn't bear to recall. "It's just that he proactively went to provoke Brawly, and then, he was pinned to the ground by Brawly and thoroughly taught a lesson, beaten until he soiled himself." Tian Xinhan. Tian Xinhan's mouth twitched violently. He glanced with a complex expression at Brawly, who was sitting nearby, crunching on a bag of potato chips he had somehow produced. Tian Xinhan felt speechless. He quickly carried Dao Pai Pai and hurried in the direction Master Roshi pointed. "Of all people to provoke, why did you have to provoke that monster?" When he saw Master Shen's miserable state, ragged clothes, bruised and swollen, lying motionless in the filth, emitting a foul stench, Tian Xinhan felt his scalp tingle and was utterly speechless. How truly awful. It was 10 times more tragic than Tian Xinhan had imagined. Master Shen. Tian Xinhan suppressed the nauseating smell and carefully placed the still unconscious Dao Pai Pai from his shoulder next to Master Shen, letting the two unfortunate brothers lie neatly together. Then, Tian Xinhan took a deep breath and said with a complex tone, You take Dao Pai Pai away. From now on, please don't appear before us again. You ungrateful brat." Master Shen trembled with rage, grinding his teeth with all his might, and cursed in a hoarse voice, You should at least send us to the hospital first. Do you expect us to crawl back? Sorry, I still have to participate in the World Martial Arts Tournament. Tian Xinhan gritted his teeth, a hint of determination flashing across his face as he left these words, as if also severing some connection with the past. This is also the consequence of you injuring Xiaosu before. We are even. Having said that, Tian Xinhan no longer lingered. He turned and strode away towards the venue without looking back, his figure resolute. You scoundrel. You won't end well. Master Shen's face was as pale as paper. He watched Tian Xinhan's departing back, looking utterly wretched, and could only utter a powerless curse with the most venomous words. What a brilliant match that was. Thank you to Tian Xinhan and Dao Pai Pai for providing us with such an intense showdown. Now, let's move on to the second match. Please hold your breath, ladies and gentlemen. The referee's energetic voice rang out from the ring again. The second match features the runner-up of the last tournament, Son Goku, against an anonymous female contestant. This anonymous contestant has chosen not to reveal her name, so this is how the tournament must refer to her. Now, please welcome both contestants to the stage. Son Goku and a female contestant with a ponytail stepped onto the arena from opposite sides of the ring. Son Goku wore his usual expression of curiosity and ease. The female contestant, however, looked very unhappy, her lips pursed tightly, and her eyes glaring intensely at Son Goku with obvious anger. Why are you always huffing and puffing? Did I offend you somehow? Son Goku asked honestly, scratching his head, utterly confused by the girl's furious demeanor. You should ask yourself that. The female contestant scoffed through her nose and turned her head away, seemingly even angrier. I still don't get it. Son Goku grew even more puzzled, searching his memories but finding nothing. Have we met before? Are you sure you haven't mistaken me for someone else? I haven't mistaken you. The female contestant spun back around, puffing up her cheeks and glaring at Son Goku, confirming word by word, You are Son Goku, aren't you? Who is that girl? She seems to have a real problem with Goku, Yamcha muttered, watching the scene in the ring. This is baffling. When did Goku ever provoke a girl like this? Krillin also felt confused, stroking his smooth chin in thought. What are they whispering about? They seem to know each other well, Blonde Launch said, crossing her arms, looking excited to watch the drama unfold. Seems familiar. Brawly paused his chip chewing, displaying a rare expression of thought as he scrutinized the female contestant in the ring. He mused, that girl, she looks a little familiar. Where have I seen her? HMPH. Upon hearing Brawly finally speak to her, even though the subject was another girl, Blonde Launch immediately seized the moment. She grinned excitedly and triumphantly declared, you finally agreed to talk to me. That's wonderful. This 3-year Cold War, I, the young mistress, have won. Ha ha ha. Brawly. Brawly stared blankly for a moment at Blonde Launch, who had suddenly become ecstatic. Immediately afterward, Brawly seemed to think of a good solution. He very naturally took a pepper-flavored chip and, with lightning speed, held it right under Blonde Launch's nose. Achoo! A strong, irritating scent shot into her nasal cavity. Blonde Launch was caught completely off guard and let out an incredibly loud sneeze. Snap! In just an instant, Launch's dazzling golden hair seemed to have been washed, immediately reverting to soft blue. The ferocity and sharpness in her eyes receded like a tide, becoming gentle and placid once more. Her entire demeanor completed a seamless switch from a delinquent to a gentle young woman. However, after reverting to the blue-haired girl, Launch's face immediately flushed with a gentle blush. Naturally and affectionately, she reached out and hooked Brawly's sturdy arm, resting her head lightly on his shoulder, looking perfectly happy and dependent. Only then did Brawly feel the surrounding air was much fresher and more pleasant. He nodded contentedly and continued crunching his chips. It was much more pleasant to look at this Launch, who is gentle and knows how to cook. Master Roshi, already accustomed to Brawly's outrageous behavior, merely shook his head helplessly. Meanwhile, Bulma, Yamcha, and Krillin stared wide-eyed at each other, stunned by the bizarre yet harmonious way the couple interacted, their minds filled with complaints they couldn't articulate. At this moment, the second match in the ring officially began. HMPH. The anonymous female contestant's anger was clearly undiminished. She let out a fierce cry, kicked off the ground, and shot forward like lightning, launching a fierce attack against Son Goku. Her punches and kicks whipped up the wind, and her moves were sharp, showing considerable skill. Son Goku, relying on his extraordinary reaction speed and nimble movements, easily dodged the girl's attacks as if taking a stroll in the park. While dodging, he relentlessly pressed her. Hey, wait. Where exactly have I met you? Can you give me a hint? Met you. The girl huffed, squeezing the 2 words out from between her teeth while continuing her assault. When did we meet? Where? Son Goku quickly followed up, as if he had grasped a clue. You infuriate me. It's outrageous that you've forgotten everything. Seeing that Son Goku truly had no recollection, the girl grew angrier. Her attacks became more ferocious, chasing Son Goku around the ring as if they were mortal enemies. You don't understand a maiden's heart at all. Do you know how I've spent the last 3 years? I've been waiting for this day to come. What is it exactly? Can you be a little clearer? Son Goku was made even more confused by her cryptic words, buzzing around like a headless fly. The rest of the audience stretched their necks and pricked up their ears, curious about what the mysterious female contestant wanted to say. You forgot our promise. The female contestant, frustrated by her inability to land a hit, stomped her foot and shouted. What did I promise you? Son Goku stopped, stood his ground, and looked at her with an innocent, bewildered expression. That's strange. Master Roshi, sitting in the audience, stroked his beard thoughtfully as he observed the female contestant's fighting stance and technique. He murmured, this girl's fighting skills, both her footwork and the rhythm of her punches, seem to be based on the Kame school style, though mixed with some other elements. What exactly did we promise? Please tell me, I'm dying of curiosity. Son Goku clasped his hands together in a gesture of pleading. We promised. The girl took a deep breath, as if gathering all her strength, and shouted loudly and clearly toward Son Goku and the entire audience, you are going to marry me. Huh. The moment these words were uttered, it was like dropping a massive boulder into a calm lake. Master Roshi, Bulma, Krillin, Yamcha, and the others immediately widened their eyes, their jaws practically hitting the floor. Even Brawly, who had been continuously eating, stopped moving and looked over curiously. Krillin and Yamcha were so shocked they jumped up, their faces etched with disbelief. Son Goku, however, fell silent, frowning as if struggling to excavate a forgotten memory buried deep in his mind. HMPH, you're finally starting to remember, aren't you? Seeing Son Goku fall silent, the girl thought he had finally recalled something. She snorted, her tone softening slightly. However, the next second, Son Goku abruptly turned his head toward Krillin, who was backstage, and loudly asked in an extremely serious and inquisitive tone, Krillin. Quick, tell me, what does, marry a wife, mean? Thump, thump, thump. Krillin, Yamcha, and the girl almost passed out upon hearing that question, nearly collapsing right there. You idiot. Taking a wife, means getting married. Krillin climbed up from the ground, explaining loudly, both angry and anxious. When did you make this kind of promise to such a beautiful and cute girl behind our backs? You're so sneaky. Only thinking of yourself. Look now, Yamcha has Bulma, even Brawly is with Launch. Now I'm the only one left single. The more Krillin spoke, the more aggrieved he felt, and his bald head seemed to dim slightly under the sunlight. You are all coupled up now, and I'm still a glorious single dog. Heaven is unfair. Taking a wife means two people becoming husband and wife, living together from then on, and forming a family. Yamcha suppressed his laughter and followed up with a detailed explanation. Goku, when you made that promise to her back then, didn't you know what it meant? Living together. Son Goku immediately panicked upon hearing this explanation, pointing at the girl on the ring and asking in horror, with you? Did I really say something like that? Who exactly are you? Please tell me quickly. Stop speaking in riddles. HMPH, absolutely not. Seeing that Son Goku still hadn't fully remembered, the girl pouted stubbornly, putting her hands on her hips. This is our promise. You must defeat me fairly and squarely before I can tell you my name. Those are the rules. Really? I just need to defeat you. Hearing this, Son Goku immediately sighed in relief, a relaxed smile returning to his face. He patted his chest and grinned. I thought I really had to spend my life with someone whose name I didn't even know. That would have been terrifying. Are you sure you can defeat me? Don't underestimate me. The girl adopted the starting stance of the Kame school, a confident smile appearing on her face. I won't lose to you so easily. How interesting. Is Goku really that slow? How has he still not remembered who that girl is? Oolong seemed to have recognized the girl's identity, spreading his pig snout into a smile as he watched the show. Oolong, do you know? Who is she? Bulma's curiosity was strongly piqued, and she quickly turned her head to ask Oolong. You're so slow, Bulma. And Puar, Brawly, and Master Roshi, you've all definitely met her before. Oolong smiled, deliberately keeping them in suspense. Ah, I remember now. Brawly's eyes lit up. After Oolong's reminder, a certain image in his mind finally became clear. Pointing at the girl on the ring, he said, she's that little girl who held an axe back then, trying to split the old man's head open. Master Roshi shivered violently, instinctively raising his hand to rub the top of his head, as if he could still feel the cold touch of the axe blade from back then. A look of lingering fear appeared on his aged face. Who is it? Who exactly is it? Bulma watched everyone's realization but remained completely confused, stamping her feet in frustration. Just then, Son Goku on the ring was ready. I'm going to attack. Are you ready? Son Goku called out, his gaze becoming focused. Bring it on. The girl, Chi-Chi, nodded, fully concentrated and ready for battle. Bang! Son Goku chose not to engage in close combat, instead throwing a seemingly casual punch in Chi-Chi's direction from a distance. This punch did not attack the body directly, instead, it instantly compressed the air in front, forming a concentrated and powerful invisible wind pressure. The wind pressure acted like a cannonball leaving the barrel, instantly striking Chi-Chi's chest. Ah! Chi-Chi felt an irresistible immense force hit her. She cried out, and her body flew backward uncontrollably, like a kite with a broken string, soaring directly over the ring and landing squarely on the ground outside the arena. Oh no! I used too much force. Son Goku only realized this then, crying out in dismay, a look of frustration on his face. Out of bounds. Contestant Son Goku is the winner. The referee immediately stepped forward to check. After confirming Chi-Chi had landed outside the ring, he instantly waved his arm and loudly announced the match result. Hey, are you alright? Are you hurt? Son Goku quickly ran to the edge of the ring, crouched down, and anxiously called out to Chi-Chi outside the arena. This scene was clearly witnessed by Piccolo, who was hidden in the shadows of the high wall of the venue. Piccolo narrowed his scarlet eyes, a flicker of strangeness and gravity passing through his gaze. Projecting power from a distance to form a shockwave, this move is very similar to the way we Demon Clan excel at utilizing ki. What exactly is the background of this guy called Son Goku? I remember in the memories left by my father, he clearly gave this guy a severe beating, perhaps even killing him. Goku, I didn't expect your abilities to have grown so much. Quote. Chi-Chi had already stood up from the ground and dusted herself off. Aside from being a little disheveled, she didn't seem hurt. Raising her flushed face, her eyes showed no disappointment, instead, they held a trace of shyness and adoration. Looking at Son Goku on the ring, she whispered, only a man like this, is worthy of being my husband. Alright, I'll tell you who I am. I am the Ox King's daughter, Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi. Son Goku's pupils suddenly contracted upon hearing the name. It was as if a bolt of lightning had pierced the fog of his memory. He immediately came to his senses, and images of Flaming Mountain, the Ox King, and the little girl chasing Master Roshi with an axe instantly flashed through his mind. He couldn't help but confirm again, you are Chi-Chi. Uncle Ox King's daughter. Chi-Chi watched Son Goku's look of realization and finally nodded gently, a relieved smile appearing on her face. Taking a wife. Son Goku also finally clearly recalled the words the little girl had said to him years ago, outside the castle on Flaming Mountain. When we grow up, marry me. Marry you. Stop it. Don't play dumb. I don't understand, but I promise. Yes. I definitely said something like that. Son Goku nodded emphatically, a frank smile appearing on his face. You finally remembered. Seeing this, Chi-Chi was completely relieved. She let out a long breath and patted her rising chest. Son Goku, however, looked up at the sky, an expression of helplessness mixed with amusement on his face. Back then, I thought, taking a wife, meant getting something delicious to eat. Well, since I promised her back then, as a man of honor, I must keep my word. Thinking this, Son Goku stopped hesitating. He walked up to Chi-Chi, looked at her flushed cheeks, and said very directly, then let's get married. Chi-Chi's cheeks grew even redder, like a ripe apple. She lowered her head and replied in a voice as faint as a mosquito's hum, a smile of undisguised happiness and sweetness on her face. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some incredibly good news to report. The referee, quick to seize the moment, immediately grabbed the microphone and excitedly announced to the entire arena, contestant Son Goku, after his match with the anonymous female contestant, Miss Chi-Chi, they recognized each other and decided to fulfill their childhood promise. They are about to get married. Let's give a warm round of applause to bless this new couple. The audience members at first were stunned, then erupted into even more enthusiastic and prolonged applause and cheers. The atmosphere of the entire martial arts tournament reached a strange climax, filled with a festive mood. Meanwhile, Broly, Krillin, Yamcha, Bulma, Master Roshi, and others, watching this sudden and dramatic development, all wore bewildered expressions, feeling like their brains couldn't process such a flood of information. They're getting married. Because of an innocent childhood promise. Broly. Just then, blue-haired Launch, nestled beside Broly, also caught the romantic atmosphere. She lifted her still flushed cheeks and softly asked in an even gentler voice, filled with infinite anticipation, look. Goku and Chi-Chi are getting married. Shouldn't we get married too? Alright. Broly nodded very straightforwardly, almost without thinking, and agreed. Really? You agreed to marry me. Launch felt happiness arrive too suddenly. Immense joy instantly overwhelmed her, and tears of excitement sparkled in her blue eyes. Had so many years of silent dedication and waiting finally come to fruition? You cook so deliciously. Broly looked at Launch and gave his reason in a serious tone, his expression very earnest, who else would I marry if not you? Am I supposed to marry the blonde you who can't cook and always loses her temper and breaks things? Launch. Why do I feel like the main reason you decided to marry me is because my cooking is good, not because I'm pretty or gentle. Although being recognized for my cooking makes me happy, I still feel like something's a bit off. And, the blonde you mentioned is also me. You too, are you really discussing marriage already? Bulma, who was nearby, heard their conversation and quietly wiped the beads of sweat from her forehead, feeling a continuous wave of shock today. Brawly nodded again, confirming the fact. The problem is. Bulma glanced at Brawly, then at the blissful blue-haired Launch, and couldn't help but raise a very practical question, aren't you still in a cold war with blonde Launch? How does that work? I'm marrying blue-haired Launch, Brawly explained with clear logic, speaking confidently, not blonde Launch. To me, they are counted separately. Bulma. Master Roshi. Oolong. After hearing Brawly's profound statement, they were all speechless, feeling their intelligence and worldview challenged once again. Can this kind of split personality girlfriend really be treated separately? However, an even more subtle and suggestive question involuntarily surfaced in the minds of Master Roshi, Bulma, and Oolong, making them think a bit crookedly for a moment, their expressions turning strange. If, during marital intimacy, Launch suddenly sneezes and switches personalities, do you continue? Or, continue? Would it then count as some form of, this thought was too philosophical, preventing them from delving deeper? Son Goku allowed Chi-Chi to lean on him as he slowly walked towards the backstage aisle amid a mix of blessings and curious glances. Passing by Krillin, who was about to go on stage, Son Goku stopped, his relaxed smile replaced by a rare seriousness. Then, Son Goku firmly patted Krillin's shoulder, leaned closer, lowered his voice, and sternly warned, Krillin, be careful. Your opponent is extraordinary. Don't underestimate him. Krillin was momentarily stunned by Son Goku's sudden seriousness. He looked at the blissful Chi-Chi next to him, then at the earnest Son Goku. Although he had some doubts, he quickly nodded and clenched his fist firmly. I understand, Goku. I'll be careful. Please remain quiet, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to begin today's exciting third match. In the center of the ring, the referee, microphone in hand, loudly announced, drawing everyone's attention back to the arena, the third match will be between contestant Krillin and contestant Ma Jinja. Please, both contestants, come to the stage. Go, Krillin. Yamcha waved his fist from the side, loudly cheering Krillin on. Krillin took a deep breath, suppressed a hint of unease in his heart, vigorously stretched his arms and legs, loosened his joints, and then stepped onto the smooth, hard ring floor with determined strides. At this moment, Krillin could feel that the green-skinned, turban-wearing figure opposite him was exuding an uncomfortable, chilling aura. Piccolo, under the alias Ma Jinja, floated down effortlessly from the air, arms crossed, in an extremely arrogant posture, landing precisely opposite Krillin. Piccolo looked down at the short Krillin with undisguised contempt in his eyes. What a show-off. Does he think flying makes him great? Krillin felt the infuriating gaze of his opponent and silently grumbled, his small face full of defiance. Insignificant nobody. Piccolo's lips curled into a cold arc, his voice carrying a biting chill. He didn't even bother to assume a fighting stance, merely casually raising his chin, you can attack me anytime. Insignificant nobody. Krillin was thoroughly enraged. He sneered, retorting, you're the one hiding your identity, an unknown nobody. Then I won't hold back. At the backstage entrance, Son Goku, Yamcha, and Tien Shinhan, who had just finished his match, gathered together, watching the situation in the ring with serious expressions through the curtain's gap. That guy called Ma Jinja is definitely no ordinary opponent. Master Roshi adjusted his glasses, his brows furrowed, as he pondered and analyzed. Old man, don't you think, he looks a lot like King Piccolo? Brawly, who had somehow acquired a bubble tea, took a big slurp through the straw, then stroked his chin, looked at Piccolo in the ring, and said in his characteristic, nonchalant tone. Are you kidding, Brawly? Master Roshi was startled and sharply turned to look at Brawly, his old face filled with surprise and doubt. Didn't King Piccolo get, we saw him explode 3 years ago. He's thoroughly dead. It's fine. Brawly calmly took another sip of bubble tea. If he's not completely dead, I'll just beat him up again, beat him to death. It's simple. Master Roshi. Master Roshi watched Brawly's calm expression, his mouth twitching violently a few times. You still say you don't like fighting. Why do I feel like your eyes gleam with a hint of excitement when you talk about fighting, especially against such powerful opponents? You little rascal, could you have a latent violent tendency? But, what Brawly said isn't entirely without reason. Master Roshi forced himself to calm down, scrutinizing Piccolo on the ring again. The more he looked, the more alarmed he became. That guy's green skin, those cold, snake-like eyes, and those pointed ears, they really do bear a 7 or 8/10 resemblance to King Piccolo back then. He even deliberately wrapped his forehead tightly with a bandana. Is he trying to disguise himself, to conceal some feature? King Piccolo. He's still alive. Impossible. Bulma, who was nearby, heard their discussion and shook her head in disbelief, a look of terror on her face. Didn't you all see him explode with your own eyes? His body was shattered into pieces. That's true, we saw it with our own eyes. Master Roshi stroked his beard, his expression growing more solemn. But who can truly understand the methods of the demon clan? It's better to be cautious. There's also a possibility, he could be a descendant left behind by King Piccolo before his death, or a new individual conceived through some method. Master Roshi voiced his conjecture thoughtfully. The thought sent a chill down his own spine. If that's truly the case, then his purpose in hiding his identity to participate in the martial arts tournament isn't simple, it's very likely to seek revenge on Brawly. Master Roshi shivered. He'd better not have that idea. Brawly finally finished his milk tea, crumpled the empty cup, tossed it into the nearby trash can, then pulled out a bag of beef jerky from who knows where, and replied nonchalantly as he tore open the packaging. Don't jump to conclusions yet. Let's watch his match with Krillin first. We should be able to learn more through the fight. Master Roshi suppressed the unease in his heart, nodded, and refocused his gaze on the ring. On the ring. The battle had already begun. Krillin, though wary, was thoroughly enraged by Piccolo's arrogance. Krillin launched the first attack, his small figure like a nimble top, unleashing the Kame School's exquisite martial arts with agile footwork, initiating a storm-like offensive against Piccolo. Fists and legs blurred, whistling through the air, showcasing the results of his diligent training over the past 3 years. However, Piccolo faced Krillin's full-force attack with ease, even with a playful, cat-and-mouse demeanor. He effortlessly diffused most of Krillin's attacks with simple blocks and slight body movements. Occasionally, he would counterattack with lightning speed and mountain-like power, each time putting Krillin in perilous situations, requiring him to exert all his strength just to barely dodge or block. To the untrained audience, this match appeared exceptionally fierce and exciting. The two figures flew about, ki surging, drawing rounds of applause. But in the eyes of experts like Son Goku and Tien Shinhan, the situation was clear. Krillin had used almost every trick he knew, including his hard-trained ki blast, whenever he found an opportunity, but still couldn't pose any substantial threat to contestant Majiniya. He was completely toyed with. Finally, Piccolo seemed to lose patience with the game. At a moment when Krillin's old strength had just faded and new strength had yet to emerge. Piccolo's figure flickered, closing the distance with incredible speed, and a seemingly casual yet terrifyingly powerful hand chop landed precisely on the side of Krillin's neck. Bang! Krillin felt an irresistible force, his vision went black, and he lost consciousness for a short time. Looking at Krillin, who he had easily knocked down and was now struggling to sit up, Piccolo was slightly surprised, a fleeting complex expression in his eyes. This unknown nobody, who was like an ant 3 years ago, now possessed such strength. Although still easily defeated, his progress was too fast. And that guy named Brawly, he could kill my father 3 years ago, he must be even stronger now, right? But then, a piece of information Piccolo had gathered through certain channels reassured him considerably. However, I heard that Brawly hasn't trained at all since 3 years ago. Every day he just eats, sleeps, and plays video games, completely indulging in such low-level pleasures. Piccolo's lips curled into a cold, confident arc once more. So, Brawly has not only not gotten stronger, but he's likely weakened due to his laziness. With the tables turned, my chances of revenge have greatly increased. First, I'll win the championship as planned. Then, at the moment the champion steps onto the stage to give their acceptance speech, that will be my King Piccolo's grand moment to tear off my disguise, declare my return to the world, and begin my great conquest to unify the world. Thinking of this, Piccolo felt his blood boiling, his excitement uncontrollable. And then, in front of the whole world, I will personally torture Brawly, the murderer of my father, to death. Completely crush the last hope of these insignificant humans. Let them welcome the rule of my King Piccolo in endless despair and fear. Contestant Krillin cannot continue the match and has surrendered. Contestant Ma Jinya wins this match. The referee stepped forward, checked Krillin's condition, and then, holding the microphone, loudly announced the result, not forgetting to reassure the audience and encourage the contestant. Although contestant Krillin lost, he lost with honor. His tenacious fighting spirit and superb martial arts allowed us to enjoy a high-level match. Let's give him a round of applause. Krillin, you were great. You fought well. Son Goku rushed onto the ring immediately, carefully helping the still dizzy Krillin up, a sincere smile on his face, and patted his back vigorously. Your progress truly surprises me. That guy is indeed very strong, there's no shame in losing to him. No choice, the strength gap is still too big. Krillin swayed as he stood up with Son Goku's help, rubbing his still aching neck, a helpless bitter smile on his face. It felt like he wasn't even using his full strength, like he was just playing with a child. Not bad, Krillin. Master Roshi looked at his youngest disciple, a look of satisfaction on his face, and gave an objective evaluation. He has grown into a truly outstanding martial artist. Brawly didn't respond, still engrossed in his beef jerky, as if the outcome of the match on the ring was less important than the snack in his hand. Blue-haired Launch, as always, stayed by his side attentively, occasionally taking out a tissue to wipe the grease from the corners of his mouth or offering him a new drink. The young couple, one focused on eating and the other on caring, seemed unusually harmonious and well-matched. The fourth match was Kami, disguised as Mr. Shen, against Yamcha. The result of this match was even less suspenseful. Although Kami suppressed most of his power, his strength was far beyond Yamcha's. Yamcha was suppressed almost the entire time, all his moves and attacks were easily seen through and neutralized by Kami. He was finally pushed off the ring by a palm strike that looked light but contained skillful force, losing cleanly and even a little miserably. Seeing that this obscure Mr. Shen also possessed such unfathomable strength, Master Roshi was truly shocked, and the hand holding his glasses trembled slightly. This year's World Martial Arts Tournament truly harbors hidden talents. What kind of monsters are participating? Each one is stronger than the last. Good thing I didn't enter. After securing his victory, Kami did not immediately leave, but instead let his gaze pierce through the crowd, taking a long look at Brawly, who was still busy eating in the audience seats. However, seeing that there were a few more food wrappers in front of Brawly, having switched from chicken legs to potato chips, and now to beef jerky, eating them interchangeably. It was as if his stomach were a bottomless pit. Kami immediately felt speechless, and it was as if several black lines appeared on his forehead. This kid, he really can eat. His mouth hasn't stopped since the match began. How ironic. King Piccolo, who nearly destroyed the world back then, was defeated by this kid who does nothing but eat and sleep. If word of this got out, who would believe it? After several rounds of intense fighting, we have finally determined the top 4 contestants of this tournament. The referee's passionate voice once again echoed throughout the venue, pushing the atmosphere to a new climax. Next, we will proceed with the even more brutal and exciting semifinals. The 4 contestants who have advanced are: last tournament's champion, Tien Shinhan. Last tournament's runner-up, Son Goku. The mysterious and powerful contestant Majiniya. And the equally unfathomable Mr. Shen. These 4 are undoubtedly the greatest masters and martial artists in the world today, possessing extraordinary strength. I must say, the level of this tournament and the strength of the participants are truly unbelievable. Just as the referee said, Master Roshi remarked, stroking his beard, his aged face full of emotion as he looked at the 4 contestants about to face off on the ring, giving his authoritative assessment. The strength these 4 have displayed truly qualifies them as the 4 strongest people in the world right now. The younger generation is truly formidable. Have they surpassed Brawly now? Bulma asked quietly, listening to Master Roshi's assessment, unable to resist turning her head to look at Brawly beside her, who completely clashed with the image of a peerless master. Perhaps not before. After all, 3 years ago Brawly could easily deal with King Piccolo. Master Roshi sighed, a look of regret and uncertainty on his face as he mused, but that kid, Brawly. He truly hasn't trained at all these past 3 years. Every day, without fail, he just eats and sleeps, and he's added playing video games to his hobbies. The path of martial arts is like sailing against the current, fail to advance, and you fall back. With the growth of others and the stagnation of his own. Tien Shinhan and Goku have progressed rapidly, while Brawly has stood still or perhaps even regressed. Now, I'm afraid he truly might have been surpassed. Oh, you know what? Bulma glanced at Master Roshi in surprise, chuckling. For an old perverted turtle, the things you say when you're occasionally serious are quite philosophical. Naturally. Master Roshi immediately showed his true colors upon hearing the compliment, grinning slyly. He leaned close to Bulma, rubbing his hands together with a lecherous smirk, practically drooling. Actually, the things I say at night, teacher here finds, are even more philosophical and contain the true meaning of life. How about, we find a quiet place tonight, have a good chat, and deeply explore the mysteries of life and existence. Bang! Bulma delivered a merciless, swift uppercut. The punch landed solidly on Master Roshi's chin, knocking him clean off his feet, sending him tumbling backward to the ground with a painful howl. Ouch! You savage girl, not cute at all. Master Roshi clutched his rapidly swelling chin, yelping in pain, tears nearly streaming down his face. Why does discussing life get you hit? Brawly watched the scene, scratching his head in confusion, his clear eyes filled with genuine bewilderment. Brawly truly couldn't understand why Master Roshi's seemingly scholarly invitation would provoke such a violent response. When Bulma heard Brawly's innocent question, her pretty face instantly flushed red like a ripe tomato. She glared fiercely at the groaning Master Roshi on the ground, unable to say anything, feeling both annoyed and amused. Thank goodness. Brawly, this blockhead, hasn't learned bad habits from that old turtle, but on second thought, Bulma felt a little speechless. Still, not learning bad habits is one thing, but did you really learn nothing at all? Otherwise, how could you be so utterly ignorant of even the most basic matters between men and women, despite being with Launch for so long? Such a simple boy, he's practically a blank sheet of paper. Bulma couldn't help but think of the recently married son Goku and Chi-Chi. Goku and that girl named Chi-Chi also got married because of a childhood promise they didn't understand. Could it be that those two are also like Brawly, completely clueless? Bulma's thoughts momentarily drifted, and she was overthinking things, a strange expression appearing on her face. Now commencing the first match of the semi-finals. The referee's voice pulled Bulma back from her wild thoughts. It will be Tien Shinhan versus Son Goku. These two contestants previously engaged in a fierce battle in the finals of the last tournament, where Tien Shinhan ultimately won the championship by a narrow margin. 3 years later, these two powerhouses meet again in the ring. What kind of sparks will fly in this tournament? Let us wait and see. The next moment, Son Goku and Tien Shinhan, like two arrows released from a bow, leapt nimbly out of the backstage tunnel, tracing two elegant arcs in the air before landing precisely and lightly on opposite ends of the ring. The two exchanged smiles, then each assumed their familiar fighting stances, causing the atmosphere in the entire venue to tighten. After a brief exchange of glances, Son Goku and Tien Shinhan wasted no words. Their bodies moved simultaneously, colliding like two meteors, launching into an incredibly fierce exchange. The sounds of fists and feet colliding were like rapid drumbeats. Their figures flashed and moved so quickly they were dazzling, and the scattered ki energy caused the ropes around the edge of the ring to hum loudly. Seeing the astonishing strength, terrifying speed, and surging power Son Goku displayed in the fight, Piccolo, who had been watching coldly from below the stage with crossed arms, couldn't help but show a slight flicker of surprise and seriousness in his eyes. This guy named Son Goku, he really isn't simple. His strength far surpasses that bald kid from before. It looks highly likely that I will face this kid in the finals to compete for the championship. But, he certainly isn't my match. How could the power of King Piccolo, be compared to that of these mere mortals? The champion is destined to be mine. On the fighting stage, after a round of breathtakingly fast offense and defense and powerful collisions, Son Goku and Tien Shinhan seemed to share a tacit understanding, simultaneously leaping backward to stand opposite each other in the center of the ring. Both men were slightly panting, adjusting the surging chi within their bodies. Son Goku stood there calm and composed, his face still bearing that signature, battle-ready smile, as if the intense fight just now was merely a warm-up. Tien Shinhan's chest rose and fell noticeably more intensely, and fine beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, indicating that the previous high-intensity exchange had taken a considerable toll on him. Goku, you truly are an incredible fellow. Tien Shinhan took a deep breath, calmed his breathing, and showed a sincere look of admiration and a smile. Compared to 3 years ago, your strength is even greater and more unfathomable. I truly admire your progress. Your current strength must surely far surpass Broly's from 3 years ago, right? Well, it's hard to say. Son Goku chuckled and scratched his head, not becoming conceited over Tien Shinhan's praise. Instead, he looked thoughtful and mused. I don't know why, even though Broly never fights or trains, I always feel that his power is like a bottomless ocean, utterly unfathomable. I might not be able to beat him now. You rate Broly that highly. Tien Shinhan smiled, somewhat surprised. I admit that the strength he displayed 3 years ago was remarkable, easily dealing with King Piccolo. But, Goku, don't forget that he hasn't trained at all in the past 3 years. All he does is eat and sleep. How could his strength possibly advance instead of decline? Well, maybe for Broly, just eating and sleeping is itself a very special method of cultivation. Son Goku laughed heartily, voicing a speculation that even he found slightly strange, yet dimly felt might be possible. Stop kidding me. There's no such training method. Tien Shinhan was also amused by Goku's wild idea and laughed along, waving his hand to end the topic about Broly. Let's forget about that inscrutable guy. Goku, let's talk about you. Your progress over the past 3 years is truly astonishing, but there is one thing that seems to have remained largely unchanged compared to 3 years ago. Huh? What is it? Son Goku was momentarily stunned and asked curiously. This matter is extremely important during battle. The corner of Tien Shinhan's mouth lifted into a confident curve, and he slowly spoke, his voice clearly echoing throughout the ring, that is, speed. Boom. A sharp glint flashed in Tien Shinhan's eyes, and he suddenly exerted force with his feet. The ring floor trembled slightly, and Tien Shinhan transformed into a blurry afterimage, charging toward Son Goku's location at extreme speed. The resulting gust of wind caused Son Goku's hair and clothes to whip backward. Son Goku reacted instantly. Almost at the same moment Tien Shinhan launched, he had already adopted a defensive and counter-attacking stance, ready to meet the impact. However, whoosh! Just as Tien Shinhan was about to rush right in front of Son Goku, the blurry afterimage vanished from the spot like a ghost. It wasn't a straight-line charge, but a visual deception created by ultra-high-speed movement. Son Goku's expression sharpened, and his battle instinct made him look up immediately, his gaze like lightning, instantly catching the whereabouts of Tien Shinhan, who had moved high into the air. Without any hesitation, Son Goku slightly bent his legs and kicked off forcefully. Boom! The ring let out a muffled sound, and Son Goku shot up like a rocket, arriving later but striking first, appearing beside Tien Shinhan and delivering a sharp, whistling roundhouse kick fiercely toward Tien Shinhan's waist. Whoosh! Tien Shinhan seemed to have anticipated this. He once again displayed his astonishing speed and agility in the air, his body suddenly stopping as if devoid of inertia, followed immediately by an eerie right-angle turn, leaving a faint afterimage in his original position but reappearing on Son Goku's other side. Son Goku missed his strike, and a warning sign immediately arose in his heart. Relying on his sharp perception of chi, he abruptly turned his head and indeed saw that Tien Shinhan had appeared above and behind him sometime unnoticed. Good eyesight, Goku. Tien Shinhan smiled, his tone carrying a hint of admiration, but more confidence in his own speed. Although my speed is fast, you still manage to accurately track my movement path. However, merely capturing my movements with your eyes is far from enough. Can your body keep up? Whoosh! Tien Shinhan's figure blurred again. This time, Tien Shinhan seemed to instantly cross the distance of space, appearing directly above Son Goku's location in a flash. Bang! Tian Xinhan's eyes narrowed, and his elbow smashed down heavily like a battle axe. A powerful and heavy elbow strike, precise and vicious, slammed into Son Goku's hastily raised arm used for blocking. The immense force penetrated the defense and, without losing momentum, struck Son Goku's head. Son Goku felt a massive force hit him, his head buzzed, and his body uncontrollably plummeted from the high altitude like a meteor. Crash! Son Goku slammed heavily onto the hard floor of the ring, producing a massive sound that made the entire ring seem to shake. The moment he landed, Son Goku barely managed to adjust his posture, supporting himself with one hand and performing a crisp breakfall roll, dispersing most of the impact force so he wouldn't fall awkwardly, but the arm supporting him was still slightly numb from the shock. However, just as Son Goku stabilized himself and before he could fully stand upright, Tian Xinhan attacked again, arriving with ghost-like speed. The fierce punch wind aimed straight for Son Goku's face. Son Goku's pupils contracted, and relying on his tried and tested battle intuition and reaction nerves, he quickly attempted to block and dodge. But Son Goku's movement was ultimately half a beat too slow against Tian Xinhan's ultra-high speed, which was like instantaneous movement. Tear! Son Goku's clothing corner was ripped by the sharp punch wind, and his body stumbled from the impact force, grazing the ropes at the edge of the ring by the narrowest margin. He was almost knocked directly out of the ring, which would have meant defeat. You're much faster than you were just now. Son Goku stabilized his footing. Far from showing fear, he looked even more excited and serious. He nodded and assessed, and I feel, this isn't your limit yet. You haven't fully unleashed your speed, have you? I already know your strength level. Tian Xinhan smiled confidently, a light of insight flashing in his three eyes. He crossed his arms over his chest, standing tall and straight like a pine tree. Just as I suspected, your speed is almost no different from 3 years ago. That's far from enough. Although your eyes can keep up with my speed, your body hasn't. You're truly amazing. I didn't expect you to reach such speed, Son Goku said with a smile, raising his hand to wipe away non-existent sweat from his forehead, praising him with sincere admiration. In the audience, Master Roshi adjusted his perpetually slipping sunglasses, his wrinkled face filled with complex emotions. Then, Master Roshi involuntarily touched his bald head, letting out an almost inaudible sigh. Are these two guys still not fast enough? Master Roshi muttered, his voice tinged with the melancholy of passing years. The era of Master Roshi was truly better. Bulma, wearing a tasteful dress, was discreetly wiping away the fine, fragrant sweat that had beaded on her smooth forehead with a delicate handkerchief. The clash just now, almost imperceptible to the naked eye, had made Bulma's heart pound with tension. Their speed was so fast just now, I couldn't see anything at all, Bulma whispered with lingering fear, her soft voice filled with both awe and apprehension. Hearing this, Master Roshi pulled his wandering thoughts back, shaking his head with a bitter smile. I could barely see it myself, let alone you. Even you could barely see it. Bulma slightly tilted her head, a hint of surprise flashing in her beautiful blue eyes. Bulma knew Master Roshi's capabilities well. If even he struggled, then how astonishing must the speed in the arena be? How astonishing must the speed in the arena be? You're dressed so conservatively today, of course you couldn't see it, Master Roshi instinctively replied, his gaze unconsciously sweeping over Bulma's rather modest dress, his tone carrying a habitual, ill-timed sigh of complaint. Couldn't see what? Brawly, who was munching loudly on a bag of potato chips, looked up at the sound, his handsome face showing pure confusion as he mumbled indistinctly. His clear eyes blinked, seemingly completely missing the double meaning in Master Roshi's words. Bulma. Bulma's pretty face instantly darkened. She glared fiercely at Master Roshi, then helplessly glanced at the innocent-looking Brawly, grinding her teeth in frustration. Brawly, can you please not join in the fun here? Bulma screamed silently in her heart, feeling that the good atmosphere of watching the match had been completely ruined by these two. In the ring, Son Goku seemed to have made a decision. Son Goku waved at Tian Xinhan, his face still bearing that bright and cheerful smile. Tian Xinhan, please wait a moment, I'm going to take off a piece of clothing. Clothing. Tian Xinhan was startled by the remark, a hint of confusion flashing in all three of his eyes, but he readily nodded. All right, it is quite hot today. Tian Xinhan looked up at the scorching sun in the sky, expressing his understanding. It seems you've also undergone arduous training, Son Goku said, struggling a bit as he began to pull at the blue t-shirt on his upper body. The action didn't look like taking off an ordinary cotton garment. Instead, it was as if he was removing some heavy restraint. Of course, no matter what, I have to surpass Brawly, who is unwilling to train. For this, I've put in a lot of hard work. Tian Xinhan nodded lightly, his tone calm but with an undeniable resolve. As he spoke, Tian Xinhan's third eye, located in the center of his forehead, unconsciously turned and glanced towards Brawly, who was leisurely eating potato chips in the audience, with a hint of comparison in his gaze. Brawly, however, as if it had nothing to do with him, remained immersed in the simple joy of potato chips, crunching away, looking carefree and detached from the world. Goku trained with the great god, and his level is only this much. Launch tilted her head, asking softly with some confusion. Although I don't understand it, he seems to be suppressed by Tian Xinhan. Not great god, but Kami. Bulma immediately turned around and corrected her seriously. Great god. Grand Minister. Brawly seemed to have a nerve touched, stopping his chewing and muttering these two words softly. At this moment, Brawly's brows furrowed slightly, as if he was trying hard to recall something. The next second, something surprising happened. Brawly suddenly froze. At the same time, the potato chip Brawly was holding hovered at his mouth, his usually clear, even somewhat lazy eyes were wide open, his pupils seemed to lose focus, and his body was as stiff as a statue suddenly frozen in time. It felt as if Brawly's system had instantly crashed, and all his thought processes had come to a halt at that moment. Brawly. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Do you want some water? Launch was the first to notice his abnormality and quickly leaned over, asking softly with concern. Looking at Brawly's spaced-out expression, Launch's face was filled with worry. Don't talk yet. Brawly seemed to be pulled back slightly from deep thought. He maintained his stiff posture and mumbled in a very low voice, I think I suddenly remembered something very important. His voice carried a rare sense of confusion and gravity. Something very important. Launch was even more puzzled. What could make Brawly, who was always so nonchalant about everything, show such an expression? Did you remember some strange new delicacy again, kid? Master Roshi was also attracted by the commotion on this side. He turned his head, looked at Brawly's expression, and asked with an exasperated roll of his eyes. Brawly ignored Master Roshi's teasing, slowly put down the potato chips in his hand with a somewhat sluggish movement, then suddenly turned his head and looked at Master Roshi with a serious expression. Old man, who is the Grand Minister? Brawly's tone was unusually serious, completely unlike his usual lazy demeanor. Grand Minister. Master Roshi was taken aback by the sudden question, instinctively repeating the name. His wrinkled face was filled with confusion as he tried to search his memory but found nothing, only shaking his head in bewilderment. Never heard of this person. Do you know him? Have you heard of this person? Brawly asked again, unwilling to give up, his eyes fixed on Master Roshi with an urgent curiosity. Master Roshi shook his head affirmatively again, indicating that in his long life, he had never encountered that name. Brawly immediately turned his gaze to Bulma, who had a broader range of knowledge. Bulma, you know a lot of people. Have you heard of someone called the Grand Minister? At this moment, there was a subtle urgency in Brawly's voice. Is his name really Grand Minister? Bulma blinked her clever, big eyes, keenly catching Brawly's unusual attitude, and carefully countered with a question. Maybe. Brawly nodded, his expression still solemn. That name sounds like a charlatan. Master Roshi muttered softly from the side. Yeah. Bulma nodded, agreeing with Master Roshi, her delicate brows slightly furrowed. That doesn't sound like a normal person's name. Brawly, what's wrong with this person? Why are you suddenly asking about him? Launch looked at Brawly, who seemed ready for a major battle, and felt utterly confused. I don't know why, but it feels like a conviction from my subconscious. Brawly raised his hand and scratched his unruly black hair irritably to clear the chaotic thoughts in his mind. Or rather, a powerful impulse. What conviction? What impulse? Bulma's curiosity was piqued by his evasiveness, and she couldn't help but press him. Brawly rubbed his sharply defined chin, a fierce light flashing in his black eyes. Then, in a tone that was both confused and affirmative, he said, that conviction is, to pin this person to the ground and give him a severe beating. After speaking, as if to calm this sudden, inexplicable emotion, Brawley violently stuffed the French fry he had been holding into his mouth and chewed it forcefully, crunching loudly as if venting his anger. PFF'd, Bulma nearly choked on her own saliva. Imagining the scene, she felt it was utterly ridiculous. Could it be your parents? Did they leave you with some psychological trauma? Or, did they abandon you? As she spoke, Bulma herself felt the conjecture was a bit melodramatic, and she secretly wiped away non-existent cold sweat. Hearing this, Master Roshi couldn't help but give Bulma a massive eye roll. Your imagination is a little too rich, girl. Asking Brawley to pin his parents down and beat them. Is that reasonable? Master Roshi silently complained in his heart. I don't know. Brawley shook his head decisively, his face regaining some of its usual laziness, though a trace of unresolved confusion lingered deep in his eyes. Never mind. That name just suddenly popped into my head, along with that strange feeling. I'll worry about it later. Brawley didn't seem skilled at dwelling on things he couldn't figure out for long. After saying this, Brawley truly stopped thinking about the inexplicable, Grand Minister, that had popped up. He picked up the bag of chips again and continued to crunch away at them like nothing had happened. It was as if that momentary solemnity and ferocity had never appeared. I'll talk about it when I really remember later. I always feel like there are some sealed memories, but I don't know why I can't recall them. Master Roshi, Bulma, and Launch exchanged glances, each taking a long look at Brawley, who had quickly returned to normal, feeling that the mysteries surrounding this guy were only increasing. Seeing that he didn't want to elaborate, they found it inconvenient to press further, merely silently committing the strange name, Grand Minister, to memory. Everyone's attention was drawn back to the activity on the ring. At this moment, Son Goku had taken off his orange t-shirt, revealing his strong, solid, and well-defined muscles. Son Goku casually crumpled the seemingly ordinary t-shirt into a ball and lightly tossed it onto the solid ground of the ring. Clang! However, the moment the t-shirt hit the ground of the ring, it didn't produce the dull thud of fabric, but rather a heavy, clear clang, a resonant sound like a block of metal dropping. This sound was extremely sudden and instantly broke the slight noise of the venue. Tien Shinhan, who had been closely observing Son Goku's actions, stiffened slightly in his crossed arm posture. His three eyes widened simultaneously, and a trace of disbelief flashed across his face. Goku, can I take a look at your shirt? Tien Shinhan immediately stepped forward, his tone filled with intense curiosity. Oh, sure. Son Goku nodded readily, seemingly not treating it as any kind of secret. Tien Shinhan bent down and reached out to grasp the seemingly light t-shirt. When his fingers touched the fabric and he tried to pick it up, his arm muscles instantly tensed. A heaviness far exceeding his expectations suddenly transferred through his arm to his entire body. What? Tien Shinhan gasped in surprise. He had to use a considerable amount of strength just to steadily lift the t-shirt. Weighing the item in his hand, the shock on Tien Shinhan's face deepened. This was definitely not clothing made of ordinary material. What's going on with that shirt? Bulma, in the audience, also noticed something was wrong. She craned her neck, her beautiful eyes filled with confusion. It looks like a normal training uniform. It looks like it's very heavy, Brawley replied, chewing on his chips, using his unique, keen intuition about his surroundings. At the same time, Brawley's gaze, carrying a hint of interest, also fell upon the clothing. Goku, have you been fighting while wearing clothes like this all along? Tien Shinhan raised his head, looking at the relaxed Son Goku with a stunned expression, his eyes becoming extremely complicated. Weighing the heavy t-shirt in his hand, Tien Shinhan finally understood why Son Goku's movements earlier had seemed slightly sluggish. Yes. Son Goku nodded, answering as if it were obvious. While speaking, Son Goku deftly began to untie the two seemingly ordinary white wristbands from his wrists. Kami said this is also a form of training. Clang! There was another dull yet clear sound of metal striking. The pair of wristbands were casually thrown onto the ring floor by Son Goku, actually cracking the extremely sturdy stone tiles, leaving several long, thin fissures, with small fragments scattering slightly. Tien Shinhan gasped sharply again, his pupils suddenly contracting. The weight of these wristbands was also extraordinary. I also carried a turtle shell when training with Master Roshi Grandpa. It's the same principle. Son Goku said this while bending down to take off the shoes on his feet, which looked perfectly ordinary. Shoes. Wristbands. Tien Shinhan looked at the three heavy objects on the ground, then looked at Son Goku, who was stretching his limbs with a relaxed expression, feeling an unprecedented shock wash over him. Tien Shinhan had originally thought that through arduous training, he had significantly closed the gap with Goku, perhaps even surpassed him. He never expected the opponent had been fighting him while bearing such heavy shackles. What's wrong with you guys? I'll help clean up. Krillin, whose curiosity was piqued, couldn't hold back. He stepped onto the ring with a thud, walked forward with a grin, and reached out to grab one of the shoes Son Goku had just taken off. Krillin, be careful not to strain your back, those shoes are very heavy, Son Goku kindly reminded him upon seeing this. The moment Krillin's hand grabbed the shoe's upper and he pulled it up with force, his expression instantly changed. The shoe seemed to be welded to the ground. Krillin used a lot of strength just to lift it a few centimeters off the ground. Ah! Krillin let out a strange cry. What material is this made of? This isn't just heavy. It's like two iron anvils. Right. Son Goku watched Krillin's grimace, then grinned, revealing a hearty, slightly smug smile. Each shoe weighs about 20 kilograms. When I first put them on, I couldn't even walk steadily, I always felt like I'd trip myself. Yamcha couldn't suppress his curiosity either. He stepped forward and tried to lift the t-shirt and the other wrist guard, and was equally shocked, his face breaking out in a sweat. Oh my god, this is like fighting with several dumbbells strapped to your body. Yamcha muttered in astonishment. Krillin, refusing to believe it, tried to put on one of the heavy shoes. As soon as he slipped it on, he felt his entire leg suddenly sink, as if into a swamp, making even a slight movement incredibly difficult. He nearly stumbled and fell. Frightened, Krillin quickly took it off, still shaken. It all adds up to over 100 kilograms. Tien Shinhan took a deep breath, his expression utterly stunned, as cold sweat trickled down his cheeks. 100 kilograms. This meant that Son Goku, from his appearance until now, had been moving and fighting while carrying more than the weight of a grown man. And he himself had secretly been pleased that Goku's speed hadn't improved. Thinking of this, a complex emotion surged in Tien Shinhan's heart. There was shock, admiration, and also a hint of powerlessness at being left far behind. The audience heard this number clearly through the loudspeakers, and each of them widened their eyes and opened their mouths, their expressions more astonished than the last. After a brief silence, an even more enthusiastic buzz of discussion erupted. This had completely exceeded their understanding of human physical capabilities. Haha, this is much easier now. Son Goku jumped twice with force, then quickly threw several punches and kicked a few times. His movements were so swift that they left trails of afterimages, and a faint whooshing sound even echoed in the air. Son Goku felt light as a feather, as if a 1,000-pound burden had been lifted. Every cell rejoiced, filled with unprecedented vitality. So, that's what it was. Tien Shinhan watched Son Goku's agile figure, almost like a completely different person from before. He was silent at first, then his lips involuntarily curled upwards, finally forming a smile mixed with relief, excitement, and intense fighting spirit. Alright. This is getting more and more interesting. At the same time, Tien Shinhan's aura began to surge without reservation, his three eyes locked onto Son Goku, ready to face an opponent of a completely different caliber. Goku, he's been competing in such heavy clothes all this time. In the audience, Master Roshi adjusted his glasses, his tone filled with indescribable emotion. He recalled the time he made Goku and Krillin train with turtle shells on their backs. He never expected Goku to apply this method to such an extreme degree now. Amazing. Even Broly, who had consistently shown little interest in the matches, stopped eating his potato chips, looked at the agile Son Goku in the ring, nodded, and offered a brief but sincere compliment. Broly could feel the exhilaration that came with the instant release of power and speed after shedding restraints. Let me see how different you are from before. Before Tien Shinhan's words had even fully faded, his figure had already vanished from his original spot. Tien Shinhan no longer held back, pushing his speed to its limit. Like a bolt of lightning flying low to the ground, Carrying a piercing shriek that tore through the air, he charged fiercely towards Son Goku's position. The two instantly engaged again. However, this time, the situation was completely different. With the heavy burden removed, Son Goku's speed had undergone a qualitative leap. Tien Shinhan's rapid attacks, which had previously been difficult for him to counter, now seemed to slow down considerably in Son Goku's eyes. Son Goku's figure flickered like a ghost. Tien Shinhan's seemingly certain punches and kicks repeatedly hit only his afterimages, or were easily dodged by a hair's breadth. He could even launch precise and swift counterattacks while evading. So fast. Tien Shinhan's heart pounded. Although his three eyes could barely track Son Goku's movements, his body's reactions simply couldn't keep up. Every one of Son Goku's movements was concise, efficient, and full of explosive power, making Tien Shinhan's proud speed and strength seem inferior by comparison. In the ring, only two blurry figures could be seen rapidly intertwining and colliding, producing dense sounds of fists and feet clashing, and sonic booms from the air being rapidly torn apart. Son Goku completely dominated, his attacks like a fierce storm, yet executed with an effortless grace. The outcome was predictable. Despite the absolute disparity in speed and power, Tien Shinhan, even with all his might and using every technique he knew, still couldn't reverse his defeat. The match concluded with Tien Shinhan's loss. What a shame. Krillin said sincerely, looking at the somewhat disheveled but not seriously injured Tien Shinhan. Tien Shinhan stood up from the ground, patted the dust off his clothes. Although his face showed the disappointment of defeat, there was more a sense of relief and calm after recognizing the gap in their power. No, there's nothing to regret, Tien Shinhan shook his head, his tone sincere. I still have a huge gap compared to Goku. I never expected him to train to this level. The current Goku should have far surpassed Broly, right? And I feel. Goku hasn't even used his true strength yet. He hasn't even used his true strength. Krillin's mouth hung open, his face filled with disbelief. It seems surpassing Broly won't be much of a problem then. At this moment, Piccolo, who had been standing like a statue on the distant high wall, also fixed his profound gaze firmly on Son Goku. There was no expression on his green face, but his tightly pursed lips and slightly contracted pupils betrayed Piccolo's inner turmoil. This guy named Son Goku, has he really surpassed Broly? Thoughts raced through Piccolo's mind. If I can defeat Son Goku here, then wouldn't taking care of that seemingly careless Broly be an easy task? A mixture of apprehension, excitement, and ambition grew in Piccolo's heart. This is getting more and more interesting. Piccolo's lips curled into a cold and cruel arc. In the next match, another finalist will be decided. The referee's voice once again boomed across the arena through the microphone, drawing everyone's thoughts back. We look forward to this equally exciting match. Both contestants are unknown newcomers, but through their previous performances, we already know that their strength is also very powerful. They are contestant Majiniya and contestant Shen. Under the gaze of the crowd, Piccolo and Kami, who was disguised as Mr. Shen, slowly stepped onto the stage where a fierce battle had just concluded. The two stood facing each other, their gazes meeting in the air. There were no pre-match courtesies. The air was thick with a cold, murderous atmosphere, completely unlike the one present during the duel between Son Goku and Tien Shinhan. They exchanged a few simple words that sounded explosive to outsiders but were meaningless, the hostility in their eyes almost solidifying. At the referee's command, the battle began. The clash between the two instantly became white-hot. Their fighting style was completely different from common martial arts, their movements were strange and tricky, their speed was extremely fast, and their power was astonishing. Every collision resulted in a dull, massive sound, and the ground of the stage cracked and shattered beneath their feet. After several rounds of engagement, both seemed to detect a familiar, shared origin in the other's moves. Piccolo suddenly leapt back a distance, his green face filled with shock and uncertainty. Piccolo stared intently at Kami, who possessed a long, steady aura, and suddenly shouted in the ancient and obscure Namekian language, I finally know your true identity. No wonder your fighting style is so similar to mine. Why have you come down to the mortal realm? You old Kami. Kami showed a look he had long anticipated, and replied with a soft laugh in the same ancient language, you finally figured it out. King Piccolo. Do I even need to explain why I came down? Are you trying to kill me? Piccolo ground out the words between his teeth. On the stage, the two argued fiercely in a language no one could understand, and the atmosphere was tense. The referee nearby was dumbfounded and could only offer a dry commentary into the microphone. What exactly is going on? Contestant Shen and contestant Majinia seem to be arguing fiercely about something, but the language they are using is completely incomprehensible. Ha ha ha. You want to kill me, Piccolo? You must be dreaming. Piccolo laughed wildly and maliciously, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world, the sound hurting people's eardrums. You and I separated from the same body. If you kill me, you will vanish along with me. You should know that better than anyone. Of course I know. Kami maintained that faint, knowing, indifferent smile at the corner of his mouth, his eyes calm. Therefore, you also can't kill me, right? Are you going to commit suicide? Piccolo's voice suddenly rose, carrying a trace of imperceptible panic. His expression changed several times in an instant, shifting from smugness to shock, and finally settling into deep apprehension. Kami's expression, however, was exceptionally calm, even bearing a faint, destiny-defying smile at the corner of his mouth. He gently rubbed the small bottle in his hand and shook his head. Don't worry. I won't commit suicide. Humans taught me a way to stop your wickedness. What method? Piccolo's pupils constricted. He subconsciously stepped half a pace forward, his entire body tensed, staring intently at the small bottle in Kami's hand. Snap! A crisp sound was particularly jarring in the heavy atmosphere. Kami calmly removed the cork from the small bottle. Immediately after, Kami slowly squatted down and carefully placed the uncorked small bottle onto the cold, rough stone floor of the stage. Are you ready? Kami raised his head, still wearing that inscrutable smile, looking at Piccolo, who was bracing himself as if facing a great enemy. His eyes held determination, and also a hint of relief. Piccolo focused his vision and looked closely, suddenly noticing that on the body of the seemingly plain small bottle, several shocking characters were written in bright red paint. Seal King Piccolo. The writing seemed to contain a strange power that made Piccolo's soul tremble deep down. Could it be? Piccolo was completely stunned, a look of unbelievable panic appearing on his face for the first time. Evil containment wave. Kami hesitated no longer. He suddenly stood up, tracing mysterious trajectories with his arms in front of him, and let out an earth-shattering roar. This loud shout exploded like thunder in the arena. In the audience, the moment Master Roshi heard those three words, he seemed to be struck by an electric current. He suddenly sprang up from his seat, his eyes behind his sunglasses wide with extreme shock and disbelief. Evil containment wave. How does he know? And Brawley, who was sitting next to him and usually maintained a casual posture, was momentarily stunned, a rare sight, as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Brawley even subconsciously leaned his body forward slightly, his knees bent, adopting a ready stance as if he were about to rush onto the stage instantly. A thought flashed through Brawley's mind. However, Brawley ultimately held back, forcefully suppressing the impulse. This guy isn't Old Man Mutin. If he wants to die, let him die, what does it matter to me? On the stage, a sudden change occurred. Following Kami's roar, brilliant and strange purple energy suddenly surged forth between his palms. That energy was not a simple ki blast, it appeared as clear, rotating threads, like a living purple vortex, emitting a low, heart-stopping hum. The threads rapidly expanded and rotated, carrying an irresistible suction force. Like a primordial beast opening its massive maw, it swiftly covered and swept toward Piccolo. However, facing this legendary forbidden sealing technique, Piccolo's initial panic subsided, replaced by a cold, even mocking sneer that was far more sinister. A petty trick. Piccolo growled hoarsely, seeming to have anticipated the move. Just moments before the purple threads were about to engulf him, Piccolo suddenly swung his arms forward, and a surging energy burst from his palms that was in no way inferior to his opponent's. That energy was also deep purple, but far more violent and evil. Evil containment wave, return. Piccolo used all his strength to let out a deafening roar. Boom. The two energies, originating from the same source but vastly different in nature, collided violently in the center of the stage. There was no anticipated explosion. Instead, the sealing threads that were originally aimed at Piccolo, upon hitting the energy barrier released by Piccolo, seemed to strike an invisible mirror, their trajectory forcibly twisted and bounced back. The purple threads, moving even faster and accompanied by a sharp shriek, surged backward toward the caster, Kami. Oh no! It bounced back. Master Roshi cried out in alarm, his face instantly turning pale. So this is the evil containment wave. Brawley looked at the strange purple energy, raised a hand to scratch his unruly black hair, and showed a look of interest. How does that guy know how to do that? Is that the point? Master Roshi nearly jumped up and scolded Brawley irritably, turning his head. Veins were bulging on his forehead, clearly infuriated by Brawley's ill-timed focus. On the ring, the situation was hanging by a thread. The rebounded evil containment wave energy was about to completely swallow and seal Kami. Just at this critical moment, Kami's body suddenly blurred, and a phantom of light, like a soul, instantly broke free from the human body he possessed. That human body seemed to lose all support and fell limply onto the ring. And that phantom of light belonging to Kami's true form, the moment it left the physical body, was uncontrollably sucked toward the small bottle on the ground. In the last moment before being completely sucked into the bottle, Kami's phantom turned its head and, using its last ounce of strength, shouted a tragic and earnest plea towards Son Goku and Brawley. Son Goku. Brawley. It doesn't matter if I die, you must defeat this guy and save this world. Brawley. Brawley blinked, his face filled with pure confusion and the innocence of someone who had been forcibly entrusted with responsibility. Who are you? Are we close? Clink. A soft sound, like the hammer of fate falling. Kami's phantom completely submerged into the small bottle marked with the word, seal, and disappeared. Seeing this, Piccolo dared not delay for a moment, darted forward, grabbed the stopper that had rolled onto the ground, and slammed it onto the bottle opening as fast as he could. Only after completing all of this did Piccolo let out a long sigh of relief, his face displaying the cruel and triumphant smile of a victor. This is wonderful. Piccolo laughed wildly in his heart. The guy who constantly threatened my life is finally gone. And you still delusionally thought you could seal me with the evil containment wave. How naive. I would never expose my weakness like my father did. There was an uproar in the venue. Most of the audience didn't understand what had happened. They only saw contestant Shen suddenly collapse, and contestant Majinia rush over to plug a bottle. Confusion and doubt permeated the air. Brawley, come with me. I have something to say to Goku. Master Roshi's expression was utterly solemn. He grabbed Brawley, who was still out of the loop, his tone urgent and unquestionable. If you have something to tell Goku, go tell him. Why are you calling me over? Brawley looked at Master Roshi strangely, finding the old man particularly baffling today. Brawley was holding half of an unfinished wife cake in his hand, looking rather reluctant. Hurry up, stop dawdling. Master Roshi was in no mood to explain, glaring at Brawley with a dark expression that was almost a stare. Fine, fine. Brawley pouted, finally nodding helplessly. He shoved the wife cake into his mouth, clapped the crumbs off his hands, and followed Master Roshi, walking through the noisy and confused crowd toward where Son Goku and the others were behind the ring. At this moment, Piccolo, wearing a smug and satisfied expression, was walking with measured steps toward the backstage area. However, an orange figure, like an iron tower, blocked his path. Hey! Son Goku clenched his fists, his body trembling slightly with rage. He glared at Piccolo, his voice low but powerful. What did you do? Give me that little bottle. HMPH, what a joke. Piccolo sneered disdainfully, sticking out his scarlet tongue to lick his lips. He popped the small bottle into his mouth and swallowed it whole, as if savoring the taste of victory. It took a lot of effort to seal this guy away. Saying this, Piccolo deliberately patted his abdomen, a look of provocative mockery on his face. Son Goku, Krillin, Tien Shinhan, Yamcha, and the others were all greatly alarmed, their faces filled with anxiety and helplessness. How about that? Piccolo spread his hands, his posture utterly arrogant. Unless you kill me, you won't get that little bottle. But, if you kill me, that person won't survive either. That puts you in a tough spot, doesn't it? Ha 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 ha. You fool. Goku was so furious he gritted his teeth, veins popping out on his forehead, his fists cracking as he clenched them, wishing he could immediately rush up and fight Piccolo to the death. Ha ha ha. Get ready, you're next. Piccolo laughed maniacally, his laughter echoing in the empty hallway, sounding particularly grating. The next moment, Piccolo walked around Son Goku and strode away. Just as his figure was about to disappear at the end of the hallway, he didn't forget to leave behind a vicious threat full of malice. After I destroy you, I'll take my time torturing that brat named Broly. The voice, like a cold viper, slithered into everyone's ears. Tien Shinhan, Krillin, Yamcha, and Chi-Chi, who had just arrived, exchanged glances, their faces filled with immense confusion and deep unease. Who exactly is this person? What happened between him and contestant Shen? And what's the deal with that bottle? Countless questions swirled in their minds. Just then, Master Roshi walked over, leading a reluctant Broly. Master Roshi's expression was exceptionally grave, as if covered by an impenetrable dark cloud. Goku, what exactly is going on? Master Roshi asked first, his voice hoarse. Yeah, what happened? Who exactly is that person named Ma Jinya? Tien Shinhan couldn't suppress his doubt, asking with a strange look, his three eyes filled with solemnity. He feels like a demon clan member, but his strength is extraordinary. He far surpasses King Piccolo from 3 years ago. Broly and I previously guessed that person was King Piccolo's child, but we don't know if it's true, Master Roshi said gravely, casting a glance at Broly, who looked completely unconcerned beside him. Hearing this, Son Goku showed a helpless wry smile, looked at Broly, and nodded. As expected of Broly, you guys guessed right. Afterward, Son Goku took a deep breath, his tone becoming extremely serious. That's right, he is indeed King Piccolo's son. After King Piccolo was killed by Broly, his son was still alive. At the last moment, he emerged from his father's body, blew up the remnants of his father's corpse, and took the opportunity to escape the scene, which is why you weren't aware at the time, Son Goku explained. Ah, something like that happened. Everyone present, except for Broly and Master Roshi who already knew, let out gasps of surprise, their faces filled with shock and lingering fear. They hadn't expected such a huge hidden danger to remain after that fierce battle. Broly, however, looked indifferent, even letting out a small yawn, as if listening to a story that had nothing to do with him. I heard all of this from Kami, Son Goku continued to explain, his eyes reflective. Actually, when King Piccolo first woke up from the rice cooker, no, the sealing jar, he had already secretly hatched an egg, which was essentially his child. That egg contained all of King Piccolo's essence and evil will. So the current Piccolo is virtually no different from his father, and what's more, he's stronger than before. It really is King Piccolo. Master Roshi let out a long, heavy sigh, as if he had aged several years in an instant. He adjusted his glasses and looked in the direction where Piccolo had disappeared. It seems he's here to participate in the martial arts tournament, to get revenge on Broly, right? Yes. Son Goku nodded affirmatively, answering truthfully, his goal is to first win the World Martial Arts Tournament, and then, in front of everyone, personally kill Broly. To announce his return with that. Am I that easy to kill? Broly finally couldn't help but curl his lips, shaking his head, his tone carrying a hint of absurdity, as if he had heard a joke. The people present were speechless for a moment, casting complex glances at him. You are very strong. That was proven 3 years ago. The problem is, you haven't trained at all in these 3 years. We all saw your laziness. And our strength, including Goku, Tien Shinhan, and even Krillin and Yamcha, has improved by more than 1 level. What about you? Is your strength still stuck at 3 years ago? I saw contestant Shen's evil containment wave just now. Yamcha suddenly thought of something and quickly asked, and then a figure ran out of his body. Yes, Tien Shinhan took over. A person identical to King Piccolo fell out of contestant Shen's body, and ran into that bottle. That person wasn't Piccolo, he was battling Piccolo by using a human body. Son Goku gave the final answer, lifting the last veil of mystery. He is Kami. Ah, Kami. Master Roshi, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan, Chi-Chi, and even Xiaosu. Everyone gasped in surprise, their eyes wide, their faces filled with extreme shock and disbelief. Kami. That was a supreme being of legend. To appear before them in this manner. And, be sealed away. Kami and Piccolo were once one person, Son Goku explained in a deep voice, revealing this shocking secret. To become a qualified Kami, he expelled all the evil and wickedness from his heart, and this evil condensed into the original King Piccolo. So no matter which one of them is killed, the other cannot survive. They are bound by fate. So that's how it is. Master Roshi nodded in realization after hearing this, finally completely understanding the centuries-old entanglement of grievances and affections. To avoid killing himself while still eliminating the other, he could only use a sealing technique like the evil containment wave. Kami was sealed in that bottle by the evil containment wave, can he get out? Son Goku asked with concern. Just open the bottle, Tien Shinhan analyzed calmly, his gaze sharp. However, he swallowed that bottle. What should we do? That guy is too strong, even Kami wasn't his match. Krillin pouted, cold sweat beating on his bald head, feeling waves of terror from his soul. Kami's defeat undoubtedly cast a heavy shadow over everyone's hearts. Yes, to be precise. Tien Shinhan took a deep breath, his face exceptionally grim, and looked around at his companions, stating the cruel reality, all of us combined might not even be his match. Broly, have you been training at all these past few years? Yamcha asked again, unwilling to give up, placing his last, and also his initial, shred of hope on the person who had once easily defeated King Piccolo. Even though he knew hope was slim, Yamcha still wanted a clear answer. No. Broly spread his hands, answering straightforwardly, without any hesitation or shame, as if stating the most ordinary thing. Yamcha covered his face in agony, completely unwilling to speak anymore. You really haven't trained, not at all. A feeling of despair spread through Yamcha's heart. Goku, do you have confidence? Krillin turned his head, placing all his expectations on Son Goku, who had just displayed astonishing strength, a look of eager anticipation on his face. Now, Goku was their only hope. I'll find a way. Son Goku nodded gravely, his eyes firm, without the slightest hint of retreat. Afterward, Son Goku took another deep look at Broly, who still wore a relaxed expression, his eyes filled with a complex, ineffable emotion. Broly felt uncomfortable under Son Goku's meaningful gaze, and he paused slightly. Broly. Son Goku turned to face Broly, his tone unusually solemn, even with a hint of pleading. I ask you, if you truly face Piccolo, please do not kill him. Because if I kill him, Kami will die, right? Broly wasn't stupid and immediately understood the key to Son Goku's concern. Yes. Son Goku nodded vigorously, explaining further, and if Kami dies, the Dragon Balls he created will also disappear. There will be no more Dragon Balls on Earth. Dragon Balls disappear. Broly scratched his head, a hint of concern appearing on his face for the first time, and he muttered, speaking of which. I've never asked Shenron for anything delicious before. So, you agree? Son Goku saw that Broly seemed touched, a hopeful smile appearing on his face, and he let out a slight sigh of relief. I understand. Broly readily agreed, seemingly not finding it too difficult. After all, Dragon Balls are quite useful. If they really disappeared, it would be too much of a pity if he couldn't wish for strange, hard to find delicacies in the future. Oh, right. Grand Minister. That name suddenly flashed through Broly's mind again. I can ask Shenron who the Grand Minister is, can't I? That's a good idea. Broly's eyes lit up, feeling that this deal was very worthwhile. Although I can promise not to kill him. Broly stroked his chin, proposing his condition, but you have to help me find the Dragon Balls. I have something to ask Shenron. No problem. Son Goku nodded without hesitation, patting his chest in assurance, leave gathering the Dragon Balls to me. Goku, what are you talking about? Yamcha couldn't listen anymore and couldn't help but interject, his face filled with helplessness and confusion. It sounds like Broly can actually defeat King Piccolo. He hasn't trained in these 3 years, so his strength must still be at 3 years ago, and Piccolo is clearly much stronger than his father. Broly hasn't trained. Son Goku turned his head to look at Yamcha, but a meaningful smile appeared on his face, his eyes seeming to see through appearances. But, I can feel that the energy contained within him is incredibly terrifying. Even, bottomless. What? Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien Shinhan, upon hearing Son Goku's assessment, all stared in shock at the still nonchalant Broly, then looked at the serious Son Goku, a storm raging in their hearts. Is Goku telling the truth? Could this lazy guy, Broly, really be hiding such terrifying power? They couldn't believe it, yet they couldn't completely ignore Goku's judgment. A new emotion, a mix of confusion and faint hope, began to brew in their hearts. Thanks for watching.